got everything straightened out. It was a house without a warning. She was having to go down there and get this information on it. I'm going to do that.
You got a basketball?
Yeah, plus work. No. That's what I was working with them. That's what I was working with them. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, good evening and welcome to everyone in attendance tonight to our Board of County Commissioner meeting. Welcome to everyone watching on our live stream. Want to go ahead and get started with our invocation. So we're going to ask Apostle Michael Chambers to come forward.
Let us pray. Father, we do thank you for each opportunity you give us to assemble ourselves together to discuss the issues concerning our county, and we pray for this Board of Commissioners tonight, oh God, that you will continue to pour out your wisdom upon them, oh God, that they will make the right decisions and right choices concerning our county and this community. We give you praise for every leader that is in this room tonight. And Father, we thank you that you'll be glorified through every decision that is made in this place tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Apostle Chambers. All right, and at this time, we're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance. As many of you recall, last Commissioner meeting, it was voted on to start leading off our meetings with a pledge. So at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Leary to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
So before we begin, I'd just like to say, I know when we voted on this, it was by accident, I guess you say, but Memorial Day is Monday, and with this being our first Pledge of Allegiance, I'd just like it to be in honor and memory of all the veterans that have fought and died for this great country to give us the privilege to have freedom here in America, and especially the veterans that have died and fought that were native here to Anson County. So as we turn all of our direction to the United States flag, attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Commissioner Leary. As many of you know, we do have 3 veterans, I believe it's 3, that are currently serving on our board. So I'd like to recognize Commissioner Woodburn, Commissioner Leary, and Commissioner Little Reed for their service to our country. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So first up, the approval of the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Little Reed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. There's one item on the consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Gatewood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Let me back up and read our ethics statement. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board tonight? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the matter, a particular matter involved. Is there any conflicts at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. First up under appearances, we have Mr. Randy Collins and Mr. Ashley Carter with the Anson Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your time. My name is Ashley Carter. I'm the Managing Director for Lobovacal North America, also known as the company across the street from Peaches and Cream. I am the newly appointed board chair for the Anson Economic Development Committee. And as our prior chair, Chuck Horn, did in the most recent update, I think in January, February, he accompanied Randy Collins to give that update. I wanted to do the same and also take a moment to introduce myself. And so with that, Randy has a presentation ready, and I believe it's also going to be shown on the PowerPoint. So Randy, if you'll come up and...
All right. And I'll give hard copies for everybody there. Great. Barry will tell me what to do here. Good evening, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
We are passing around a hard copy of the presentation tonight. The last time we spoke to you, we didn't give you gave you some data. This is going to be a bit more visual for you. So, and we'll take some questions at the end. But this is part of our regular update to the commissioners on economic development. And obviously, you know, you're having some budget discussions as well. We want to enlighten you on a few things. There are some updates since the last time we met. So Barry's going to queue up my slides here, and Barry will tell me what. There we go. All right. First one is our mission. Tells you was set some years ago. Over 30 years ago when the EDC was created. We're a public-private partnership promoting responsible economic growth for the county. It's always good to go back to look at our mission to determine what it is we're supposed to be doing. We thought it was a good idea to bring to you our leadership. On the left-hand side is the staff. I am the only full-time staff member. Thomas Kiriton is here. Brooke Ainsworth also works with us. They're both contract employees. The executive committee is in blue there. Those are all the officers, current officers of the board. In green are the rest of the board members. I think it's a total of 20 board members who serve on the EDC. And they represent a large group of different types of companies, along with elected officials, and the county manager serves there as well, as you may be aware. So the update we're going to give you today is first on the Shell Building project, secondly on the sewer line, thirdly on Atlantic Gateway Logistics Park, which is the largest piece of property we're promoting right now, and talk to you about a new railroad grant we just received, announcing tonight, and some data on our prospects. I'm not going to spend a lot of detail with you. I could talk for a long time on each one of these, but I'll let you look over the documents. What you're looking at there is a plan for the Shell Building site. You see the line at the top of the page at Vintage Road, and at the bottom of the page is 74. So the building sits in that brownish area there. It's going to measure initially 45,000 square feet. It is expandable to 90,000, but right now we're building at 45,000 square feet. It is paid for through a state grant that we received. And I'm happy to tell you tonight the building is going up out of the ground. We received all of our permits. They're pouring the footers now for the steel that will go up. It will be the first Shell building ever constructed in Anson County. And before it's out of the ground, I can tell you we've already had interest in the building. It is our intent to purchase that building, not to lease it. And note your, if you have questions at the end, we'll take them certainly. This is a rendering of an initial design of the building. We think that design may change, but suffice it to say it'll be a metal building, 4 walls and a roof. There'll be no floor in it initially. Obviously we want to keep that for the tenant who may purchase that building. They may require a thicker floor than some other industry. But you will be able to see this building prominently right next to PD Electric's headquarters and from Highway 74. Next is a little bit more of a complicated project, but that is our sewer line project. If you see that red box on the map, that is where Hornwood Incorporated is located, and where the Hornwood pump station for the sewer line is located. We're going to go north on that road and then 3 miles east on 74 to bring sewer service to the Atlantic Gateway site. That site currently does not have sewer service. And we think if a large company is going to locate there, they must have an ability to not only deal with wastewater, but effluent from a manufacturing process. We have just let the contract for that job to a contractor who will supposed to start work on the 2nd of June. That project, by the way, will take about 10 months. So it will be March of 26 before it's complete. Also, that project, is paid for with a state grant. The next slide is an additional slide on the sewer line. Shows you how it comes into the property. The property across the street is the shell building project. The green line you see on your copy shows that we will, once the sewer line is in place, we hope to extend that sewer line under 74 and over to the shell building. Even though we have approval to build that shell building with a septic site, we want to run sewer there as well. You may have seen this slide before, but that is the overall Atlantic Gateway project. In the larger parcel below, you will see this is a concept drawing, not actual, what it could possibly look like. 80 acres roughly, and then across the street, the gray building you see is PD Electric's headquarters, and then to the right of that, you see the shell building. So collectively, we refer to that as Atlantic Gateway. You'll note the big thing to note here on this slide is that the CSX rail line that runs at the bottom of the page. The main reason that that project is there is because it's obviously a rail served site, and we'll have more to say about that. Tonight we're letting you know we've just received word from North Carolina Railroad that we received a $500,000 grant to basically pay for the site work and preparation at Atlantic Gateway. People may wonder, well, that's a lot of money just for site work. It is. It's expensive to clear land, and that's a large parcel of property there. There'll be other expenses that we'll need to pay. So we won't be coming to this body to ask you for money to pay for that. But now will be a certified build-ready site with the North Carolina Railroad. CSX is at the table as well and has approved the plans. So we're very excited about that. Grant money, as you know, is very competitive. An additional page I attached to your package to tell you that we are currently looking at sites for additional spec buildings 2 and 3 in coordination with North Carolina Southeast, PD Electric, and the State Office of Economic Development. So we hope to build some more spec buildings. To let you know some information on prospects, I could fill your inbox with data on this, but suffice it to say I went back 6 months to tell you, this tells you how many prospects were received by my office as interested, looking for sites in North Carolina, and we presented information to those companies. I would hazard a guess that probably we did not qualify for half of those prospects of 57 because they were too large. They needed 1,000 acres, or they needed a 50-ton crane at the site, or they needed one particular one needed to be within 10 miles of the inland port. Sometimes Anson County does not qualify, but all of the others we submitted RFPs and responded to those. These come in through North Carolina Southeast as well as the Economic Development Partnership with the state. So what these numbers reflect more so is that there is a great deal of activity out there. There are people looking to build plants of all different types in our community, in our region as well. I could go through a lot more detail in some of those prospects. It gives you a little bit more information of what we've been up to. And I know you have other speakers tonight. Ashley and I both will happy to take your questions. And I was going to also share a drone video with you tonight, but the file was too large for me to mess with. It just showed an overview, a flyover of the site that showed the Shell building and the Landing Gateway site. But in the interest of time, Mr. Chairman, we'll hold that for another meeting. But happy to take any questions.
All right. Well, I appreciate the update, and just to let the citizens know that there will be a lot of activity starting at the Atlantic Gateway. As you spoke, the building's fixing to start going vertical, so you'll see a steel building going up. Once the land's cleared, 80 acres on the south side, there's going to be a lot of activity over there. So I think the future is looking up for the Atlantic Gateway as far as creating some industry in this area. So at this time, is there any questions for Mr. Collins or Mr. Carter?
The just total sidebar a little bit. You talked about those companies that needed 1,000 acres or so. I mean, so
Right.
Was there ever any push to go reach out to some of these large landholders in Anson County to see if they would ever be interested in selling their land if a potential business could come? I mean, some of the timber land.
We've started some discussions with some landowners, and
Before
it's been difficult.
I would just say that before that, there was, I think about 4 years ago, there was a study done with PD in coordination. It was also done, I think Jarvis may have been involved with some of those presentations, but we did a large land survey. And so we have identified those sites, and those are also part of the coordination that we mentioned on that last slide with identifying where we would put potential future spec buildings in coordination with North Carolina Southeast that can help us guide, or at least guide us to what is the most attractive place to put that. So yes, we would have a portfolio, but 1,000-acre spots, like Randy's saying, don't come around very often. They're hard to secure for long periods of time on the hopes that a company of that large would come. So it's, yeah. Good question.
That would be a mega site on the size of something like BMW or larger. We would not dismiss it by any means. And in fact, I'd offer to the commissioners and really anybody in the public that knows, if they know of large tracts of land, whether they're zoned commercial or not, we're interested. But we think, we have fewer prospects at the larger level where our I guess our appetite seems to be between 50 and 150 acres, roughly. To give you some comparison, the Landing Gateway is 80 acres, and that's a big site.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
So what happened to the other 50%? 50%, you say we lost half of those because we couldn't appease them with acres. So that's not a small percentage. That's over half of the prospects.
Right.
So that's a large percentage of people that have interest that we cannot accommodate due to the shortage of land. So my question would be, of the other half,
Right.
that other 50% of interest, what are we doing to secure that interest, right? So we know
Right.
we still have some interest there, and people are looking at Anson County. What are the avenues we're taking to try to secure them, to execute on them?
Once we know that we qualify, if you will, or we have either land or a building, they're either asking for existing buildings or they're asking for land. Once we know that we qualify in that regard, we write up a proposal and we send it back to either the state or the Southeast people. They negotiate with the company directly. In fact, I considered putting a list together of companies that made up that 57, but I'm held to confidentiality on many of them. They do not release their information of who they are. But to your point, Commissioner Elby, I would say this. we're not going to hit a home run every time at bat. And if we know that we're attempting to present Anson County to something that we're not qualified to do, is a waste of time. But having said what the other commissioner mentioned about land, we're open to putting together a large land deal and see if something like that may come to pass. But I guess there's strength in numbers of the smaller employers of, say, 50 to 100 employees that we may have a better shot at. But we swing at the bases every day, every time we do, and try not to give up completely on a prospect unless we know. I'm trying to think of another one that we didn't even qualify for. Well, the one that required us to be near the port. They wanted to be within 20 miles of Wilmington. Well, obviously,
Well, they definitely wouldn't. They shouldn't look this way.
we're not there. But they send me the prospect anyway.
Which that's kind of waste of time. 20 miles.
Right.
That's a. I mean, I wouldn't see why they would send that all the way to Anson County.
Right.
You're looking for 20 miles to Wilmington.
Right.
My other question was, so we rule out half of them that we know we won't get because we don't qualify. So my interest is in the other 50% that we may be able to appease.
Right.
So now some of these prospects, you say, the state end up dealing with them.
Right.
There's no way we can make a little bit better attempt to have some direct contact with these prospects. Is what I'm interested in,
Well,
because
I'll
if
give
we
you my
turn it
2
over
cents.
to the
Actually,
state,
my-
then we don't know how it
That's the
works.
point. We don't, in the first rounds or the second rounds, we don't negotiate directly with the company.
Right.
That is a responsibility that we've given to North Carolina Southeast and to the state. Once we catch a fish and we're attempting to reel it in, they call us in. And then, but I mean, we've had situations that come up like one you dealt with recently on the halal meat packing plant. Came through the state and the county. They requested incentives, if you will, from the county, and the county responded. We have had some of those prospects come in that are looking for incentives.
That wasn't a direct contact. That came from the state, or was that more of like a? Okay. Okay.
And we didn't mention that. I mean, we weren't directly involved in that. We've been supportive of the project. We met with the halal people. You know, when that plant opens, they say it will open this year. We'll have 60 jobs. But I don't know whether you want to add anything to that discussion.
Well, I mean, as far as the inner workings of economic development, Randy knows that much better than I, but I can maybe take your question and spin it in a little bit different manner, coming from the perspective of the company coming here that was brought through EDP. And so, you know, our company is a German-based company that located in Charlotte, because Charlotte did a really good job of reaching out through its economic development partners to attract foreign companies, specifically German. Well, North Carolina EDP did a great job of understanding our need for expansion to try to keep us in North Carolina. I was looking at South Carolina, Tennessee, as well as North Carolina, and I looked at a lot of different properties independent of EDP. But Melody Underwood specifically came in and worked with our company and then introduced us to Wadesboro. Due to some relationships that were already there, it was somewhat of an easy transition for me personally, but still had to be sold to our company as a financial win. And once we were able to unpack what Anson County had to offer, it made total sense. We got a great deal on the land value. It looked like it's going to continue to grow. We had a good partnership with incentive packages that were presented to us by the EDP, approved by the commissioners. Thank you very much. As well as looking for the opportunity to try to cultivate employees with the school systems, with SPCC, et cetera, for our long-term position in this community. I think what we need to do to continue to grow, you guys are all aware of. What economic development is trying to do is work with you to bring more businesses like ours here that are willing to continue to fight. That's exactly why I volunteer to do this, is because I feel that Anson County has a lot to offer. We just have to get that message out there. And maybe to answer your question a little bit more specifically, of that 27 or 23 out of the 57 that are out there, most of them need a building. The reason it worked for us to come to Anson County at the end of the day was there was a site available to handle our growth. It just happened to work out. If we were looking now, I don't know that a site would be available. So that's what economic development is focused on, is getting sites to get companies here and those jobs as a result. I hope that answered your question.
It did.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gateway.
Mr. Chairman, I made some notes and I'm just going to read them. First of all, I want to congratulate you on an excellent presentation, excellent update, excellent visuals, and excellent progress that you're making. Really appreciate you being here and the service that you're rendering. I was hit yesterday with a potential issue here in Anson County, and that is there's a vicious rumor going around that Roses is going to close. Roses in Anson County. As you may know, Roses and Albemarle closed a month ago, because I was up there taking advantage of 20% off. I bought so much stuff I had to call my wife and just forewarn her. In any event, the question I get hit with time and time again is that Anson County needs Walmart back. It's been 5 years since they closed Walmart or some other department store.
Right.
What sort of progress are you making in that regard?
Well, let me address Rose's. I met with the management, and because part of our job is not only recruiting industry, but retaining the industry that we already have. It's a problem. And the citizens of this community, and I bought a home and live with my wife in Wadesboro. If they want retail, we need to support those retailers. I'm not sure what's going on at Roses, but to say enough, the issue is what's called in retail loss prevention. Their products are walking out the door without being paid for, but there could be other reasons that sales are down, maybe the economy and other reasons. But I was told when I first came, my focus has been more so on the industrial clients rather than big box retail. We are open to any big box retailer that wants to come to this community. I've worked with all the major big box retailers in other communities I've served. Here's the problem in Anson County. The problem is demographically, we don't fit the model for some companies. I'll give an example. I'm not an expert. Target requires, let's say, some citizens have told me their desire to bring a Target here. Target requires a median income over 50 grand, 50,000 per year. They also require a population of over 35,000. So we strike out on both. The reason they have those are the same reason that Chick-fil-A does not build in a community that cannot support it demographically, population and income. So I encourage the Roses folks to stay where they are. We need them. We can't afford to lose them. I have spoken to the owners of the current Walmart site. They have a company in there that's utilizing the site and paying rent to the owner of the building. We're reaching out to the Walmart people to see if there's interest. Other colleagues I've spoken to is that it's not likely once they leave a community that they come back. Again, their issue was not completely loss prevention, but it was demographics. Even though this happened before I came, people told me the parking lot was full every day. So to tell you the truth, I'm not sure I've been told the truth what happened at Walmart, but it's gone. And it's going to take us years to come back from that. But the growth is coming from the east. Union County, Mecklenburg, Charlotte, MSA. The population, the housing's coming, and the retail growth will come. But right now, I can tell you, Commissioner, we're working on more industrial-related jobs.
All right, thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. Good question.
I have a question,
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair. You have Carol Anderson on the she's a board of director. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Carol is on, serves on our board.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Then you said it's a shortage of land. Does she not offer to purchase, you could purchase her land for some of the companies to come down and use it?
A great question. We have multiple people in the real estate business that are on the board, and they do offer their services at no charge in many cases to help us identify land targets. Yes, ma'am.
Carol does not currently list, as far as I'm aware, large tracts of land. She has a fair amount of land for sale, but in the 100, 200, 400, 500 acres, we're on the search for that. And we hope to talk to Carol more about maybe there's land out there for sale that we don't know about.
One of the question I had is pertaining to the sewer line project. How much involvement, I guess, do the county have in that particular project? And the reason I'm asking that is because of the information I received the last time, is that will initially belong to the county.
Correct.
So how much input is, I guess, the county giving you for that particular project?
Well, I can tell you certainly Mr. Sussman, as well as Mr. Caldwell and Jarvis sits on our board. They're aware of the discussions that have taken place with the sewer line. I think we've sent some legal documents to the county as well for the county attorney to review for the transfer of ownership, because right now that is an EDC project, but we're not in the wastewater business.
That's I didn't want to interrupt you. That is the intent of my question. All right. So you all are not in that particular,
right,
line, and we will eventually take responsibility for it. Right?
Yes, sir.
So with a project like that, I was just curious as to that involvement because,
yeah,
or who's involved with it.
They are
or
in the
how
loop.
that works.
The
Okay.
directors of wastewater have been advised. The county manager is aware of it.
Okay.
We have no intent of keeping the sewer line. We're very happily hand over the sewer line to the county, by the way, at
Right.
no cost, zero cost to the county. In fact, the county, once we locate or companies to locate Atlantic Gateway, the county will charge a fee to hook to that line, and that money goes to the county, not to the EDC.
Oh, I'm aware of
So,
that. I'm aware of that.
No, there's been conversation from the get-go with the county on that, and in fact, to make sure that their engineers and the people that run the current wastewater approve of the design. There was a question at one point in time of the size of the pipe.
Right.
It was too small or too large, and I don't remember. The recommendation came back from the county to say, well, we would prefer it to be this, and that's what we did. We're not in that industry. We're just making sure that we knew that it would be an expensive project for the county to take on and pay for, but we needed the sewer service to that Atlantic Gateway site. That's why we undertook the project.
Certainly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe as your engineering firm, Alliance, was starting the process of designing this, I think the manager had some correspondence with them. Once we got the proposal, we made some changes to their design to meet what we currently are designing ourselves. Is that correct?
That's correct, because we use not Alliance like the EDC uses. We use Hazen and Sawyer, as you know, and they are obviously they are the ones that put out the water filtration rehab project is the official name of it.
Right.
But they also do sewer, and so they've been in contact, and we've reviewed the specifications, and like Randy's talked about, the diameter was one, and then the actual state requires a certain PSI, pounds per square inch, and so that was changed too. So
I remember the discussion on type of pump,
Right.
whether it was submersible pump or
It's a much more complicated process than what we thought, that we had to get those people involved to make sure we were making the right decisions. But construction on that is going to start very soon. and it will be a great addition to that section of the county.
Okay. Mr. Woodward?
A lot of what I was thinking about saying has been stated already, but I will just put this out there, is that Commissioner Call, County Manager Sosman, and myself, any discussions that's had on the sewer line project, we're making sure that it meets county specifications, and because we don't want something to be handed over to us and then 5 or 10 years later we got to redo it or do something to it. So we're monitoring it very closely and making sure that those specs are met.
That line we're building is over 3 miles long, so we want to make sure we get it right first time, and that everybody's involved, and so those people in that industrial area and other areas will be well served by it.
Mr. Leary?
Yeah, this will be my last one. So you talked about demographics, median income, population sizes, things of that nature. When you have industries and whatnot, you got to have employees, which we all know that. Do y'all ever work in any sense of housing developments or anything like that?
I've been approached by multiple residential builders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, done my due diligence to give them the information that they need. These are developers generally from outside the county.
Right.
We are not currently working with any residential developers. Again, we're not building rooftops, generally speaking, but again, I think that's just a matter of time before that happens. There is a housing crisis in this county. There's no doubt about that, as well as rental housing, low-income housing, and go on and on about that. But right now, we're not currently working with. We would be happy to work with any of those developers through the proper channels if there are people that are interested in building in this county.
Mm-hmm. And that's just what my thought was, you know, if you had some potential land for housing developments or something like that, reaching out to developers and trying to sell that land, I mean.
Right. And the issue with houses, of course, ends up being infrastructure.
Right.
Water, sewer, electric, internet connectivity, and other things. There are places still in the county that struggle with internet connectivity. That's a big issue now. Everybody has to have it. So, but water and sewer is...
I mean, especially on the 74 corridor, like you said, I mean, we all know it's coming from the west, Union County, and so forth, so I'm just saying if there's any possibilities out there, I don't think you're putting the chicken before the egg or anything like that by going out and finding places for people to move in.
Right. The housing developers
within the zoning
typically
requirements.
know what to do in that area. We let them do what they know how to do. And some of them contact the county or in the county, and we have no idea they're here.
Yeah.
So
They're pretty good at finding us.
apparently.
So,
Yeah, they already are.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, and I can say it's a few that I've talked about, on the phone. They know that sometimes their presentation of a large project of how many ever homes is not always well received, depending on where it's located and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of building going on in Union County and west of Charlotte. That certainly housing developments are going up pretty rapidly.
one last question concerning like a detailed audit of the EDC. I think that came up one time before, and it was an issue there where I think it was stated, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if I get this wrong, you please correct me. That is not something that has to be outlined for us, the commissioners, for us to kind of see some financial or fiscal responsibility there.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You all sharing with us your expenditures, your audit, your financial worksheets, you know, where money is going, how it's being used.
Well, at the end of the day, the chairman of the board is here before you tonight.
But my
All
question,
I can tell you is 30 years in nonprofit work. We are a 501c3 registered with the IRS. We are not relegated to provide any information on our organization in that regard. Certainly anybody that walks in, a citizen or anybody else, can't get a copy of our financials. Now, the one document that's available to the public is our tax return, 990s. And I'm happy to provide that to the county if that's something that you want. But because we are a private nonprofit and we're not a public entity, so I mean, while we understand and we appreciate the amount of funds that the county gives to us through the sales tax revenue, it's not the only revenue that we have. And you know, whether we share any other additional financial information will be up to our board.
Right. So with that being said, and this is for the public, we have a partnership with you all, correct?
Yes, Mr. Ellaby,
Yeah.
absolutely. We do.
So,
And
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment to your question. I agree with your questioning around that line. As the board chair, I do think we have a responsibility to report where we are spending the taxpayers' dollars. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
And I would just
That's
also
good to hear.
comment that I think that we in this room and everybody that's listening and watching needs to understand that this is an absolute partnership between the county and a private organization. And with that, there are certain things that we would like to disclose to make sure the taxpayers all understand that their money is being spent toward economic development.
Yeah.
And there's also reasons why we wouldn't be able to disclose all of that in detail. And I hope you understand that. Sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I would comment to that point is within that partnership and the way it works is by design, so that we can continue to have projects like you've seen where funds are received certain ways and grants are applied for in certain ways, and certain entities can receive them while the benefit is the community, just like the sewer line project. And I think those are the things that we have to continue to highlight. And for myself, coming into economic development, I also had this broad view that economic development meant everything that comes in to the county gets lumped into the term economic development, whether it's a Walmart or a fast food place or a gas station. Unfortunately, those are all correct answers. But what we've come to realize is that we have to focus on the things that we can be good at and that we can actually have an effect on with the resources that we are provided. Of course, part of that comes from the tax revenue. So I hope that answered your question, but absolutely that is our intent, to try to figure out a way to be able to provide clarity and transparency for all the funds we receive.
They did a good job making you their chair. I'll tell you that. They did a good job with that. That's a good answer. And I appreciate that, because my concern is the transparency, right? While we may not be the premise or the sole, funding of your operation, I know that you all are private, but you're a private nonprofit, which enables us to partner with you, because we couldn't partner with you. We can't grant any money to anybody just because they ask for it. They have to partner with us in order to do business together. And that's basically what you all are doing. You are doing business with us and kind of for us, which entails a relationship that it shouldn't be a problem.
It'd be a great partnership.
Yes, because that's what make partnerships work. If me and a buddy of mine go into business together, I think we shouldn't have anything to hide from one another. And me personally, want to say that as a commissioner, that I did find it kind of, somewhat of a problem that I was told that yes, we're private and certain things are left, but we're funding a great deal of your operation. Right. You as the executive director, you do work for the ADC, but we pay a part of that salary, right? So we are an important piece of this puzzle. And I thank you for the work you're doing, and I'm hoping that we can see economic development in that light, because while we are a board, I personally took an oath to oversee and have a voice in the fiscal responsibility of the county. So if we're funding anything, we should look for a return. It's called ROI in business, return of investment. When you make that investment, there should be a return. So I'm thankful tonight to see what is potentially getting ready to take place with the sewer line, with the Shell building, and hoping these Shell buildings and the Atlantic Gateway bringing us an industry that will increase our tax revenue. That's what it's about, right? So that this, I don't know, roughly 450, somewhere in that ballpark, is well invested. That's my concern. That's all I'm saying. And so if we can't have that relationship, it makes it hard for it to see the need for that. So if we could just try to stay open and be honest with each other. Not saying you're not being honest, not saying we're not, but that's what I'm really asking that question for.
Concern.
Yeah.
I would also offer that, Mr. Woodburn, your chairman, and our county administrator have had access to that financial information as members of our board.
Right.
This
I
board
don't, though.
has been completely transparent in its dealings. But I, as a staff member of the nonprofit, you understand that we have to be careful and make sure that we're managing the assets in a correct manner. We just completed, by the way, a full financial audit with an outside CPA firm, paid for, and came through with a very good report. So we have had an outside third party review everything in the EDC, and we came out with a solid report. So I agree with Ashley. We are in a partnership with the county, as we are in a partnership with every town here as well.
Certainly.
In Ansonville, Lylesville, and all of them, Wageboro, we have an obligation to them.
Now I want to make it clear, I'm not questioning your fiscal responsibility in whether or not you're not doing anything one way or the other. I will say budget time is coming up, right? I am a sitting commissioner. I can't speak for anybody but myself. So when I vote on budget, I'm not saying you have to make this information public to the entire county, but there are 7 commissioners that has a say in where we are going to invest. We may, I don't know, the county, from what I am understanding, we're looking at having a pinch here and there. So could it be possible that we may have to do a little less for the AEDC? But these are conversations we have to have amongst one another, or to see what is laid before us. If the CPA did this wonderful job, at least these 7 commissioners, I think, should be able to lay eyes on it. I didn't say the entire county, just 7 commissioners,
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Elby. I appreciate that question. I would just say that we will take that into consideration, absolutely review it, and make considerations of what we can disclose within reason. But ultimately it comes down to, there is no question that we believe a partnership comes from transparency and honesty, and our main goal is to get more jobs here. So the funding that we receive from the citizens through the tax revenue is absolutely going to good use.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
All right,
Mr. Lee.
Sorry, I'm just going to add on a little bit with that, and maybe Attorney Forbes can look into it too. Attorney Forbes.
I apologize.
Yes.
I was looking up something for this.
If you'll just jot this down, Session Law 2012-169.
Say that number again. I'm gonna jot it down too.
You say 2012-169?
2012-169, House Bill 572. That might give a little bit of clarification. I'm just trying to do a little bit of.
That's a session law?
Yes, House Bill 572. I was on Cannon's. Yeah, I was looking on Cannon's North Carolina local government law, as far as what he was asking for is about financial records
Right.
from nonprofits receiving local government funding and what was required and what's not required. If you'll look into that at what is required as far as financial statements.
I can give you a detailed, I'll be able to give you something detailed. However, one thing that the board can do, if y'all decide, is you can demand certain records or you can withhold your money. That's the right of every board.
And that is the point that I was getting to. I wasn't going to say it here. It was a conversation I was going to have with the commissioners. Because if you and I, just say you and I, we're going into business together. You have 51%, I got 49. Are you able to not allow me to see those financial statements for that business as your partner? Or would I have access to that?
I mean, it would be at the discretion of how you chose to set up the company, sure.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't get into a company where I couldn't see the statements as an investor.
Yeah, and I can agree with your point, and I understand your point. I think that one of the things is, if we're debating whether the funds are being used properly, or we're looking at whether the amount of funds is actually getting the job done, I think we also need to look at the fact that we have 1 full-time and 2 part-time people that are coming from the full funding. And as a result of that, we have multiple projects that are being managed and handled. So could we do more with more funding? Could we make economic development happen faster with more funding? There's no question about it. So I would just be careful, or at least caution the fact that this is not a matter of where the funds are going. Truthfully, if budget concerns were not part of it, we would be here asking for an increase in funds so that we can double down on our efforts.
My question to you all is, do y'all have any idea when the shell building is going to be finished? Right?
Shell building will be done in 6 months before the end of this year. And as I said, you know, as it comes out of the ground, we have people looking at it now, people that have expressed interest in that to us and to our staff.
So roughly when is that? A month? 6 months? You said 6 months from the end of this year. What?
June 1st.
Okay.
Till the remainder of the year, we think it will take to put the metal up. Weather has something to play into it. It won't be move-in ready, but it will be, you know, 4 walls and a roof. And frankly, it's a better situation if somebody comes in early and buys that building, and they can set it up however way they want it.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Appreciate you.
All right. Are any other questions for AEDC?
Appreciate the commissioner's time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next appearance, we have Apostle Chambers with the Oasis Community Center presentation.
Good evening once again. I have seen you guys so much, I may ask if you got a seat for me up here somewhere. But we're grateful that you allowed us to come and do this presentation, and the purpose of the presentation is to give you a more visual outlook as to what our heart and vision is for the Oasis Community Center down at the Gerald Faison School that we now have. So I'm going to ask Elder Shakira Bennett and Prophet Twinkle Taylor to come forward. These are 2 of our board members and church leaders to give you this presentation.
Good evening. Good evening, commissioners. So thank you guys again for your time. And like Apostle shared, we just wanted to visually show you guys what our intent is and what we will accomplish in our community through the Oasis Community Center. So I'll begin by sharing with you what our mission is, and then I will toss it over to Twinkles to share with you a little bit about the history of the J.R. Faison school, and then I'll present to you guys what it is that we will be doing through the Oasis Community Center and tying that all together for you. So our mission at Oasis Community Center is to empower, uplift, and to transform the youth of our community by providing a safe haven where they can grow, learn, and thrive. In a county faced with violence and limited opportunities, we are committed to breaking cycles and building futures through sports, counseling, and extracurricular activity that foster unity, leadership, and productivity. So by equipping young people with the tools, mentorship, and support they need, we aim to instill confidence, develop responsibility, and cultivate effectual citizens who will positively impact their community. So through the structured programs and meaningful engagement, we strive to create a generation of leaders who choose purpose over violence, success over struggle, and community over conflict. At Oasis Community Center, we believe every young person deserves a place to belong, a chance to succeed, and a future filled with promise. Together, we are shaping a brighter, safer, and more prosperous tomorrow.
Okay, J.R. Faison, the school actually started in Deep Creek. This school existed and it was created by Mr. Josiah Settle and Miss Dora Settle. They moved here from Rutherford. They were supported by the community, and what they done was they took their kids every Saturday home with them. They fed them, and then they took the wagon to school. Took them to school every day. Then they would go back home on Sundays. They would go back home on Sundays, and they would come back, and they would do it again, and they would do it again, and they would do it again. During this time, they were in search of a full-time principal because they only had a part-time principal. So this is where Mr. J.R. Faison came in. He moved here, and he became the full-time principal of Zion Academy. Zion Academy grew to the capacity where Mr. Henry W. Little and some other members of the community came together, and they built the J.R. Faison building in which you see on Salisbury Street today. There's more to the J.R. Faison building as well, because if you're coming into the town of Waynesboro and you look over at the J.R. Faison building, as you go up to the next street, that's called Settle Street. It's named after Mr. Settle and his wife. Then the next street over is Dora Street, which is named after Miss Dora Settle, which is Mr. Josiah's wife. They on Settle Street, they had a house. This house still stands there today. The school went from being Zion Academy to the Anson County Training Center. Then it went from that to Woodlawn School, and they all agreed to name it after Mr. J.R. Faison, being that he put so much into it and it had brought so much to the community.
So some of the things that and skills that were taught at the J.R. Faison communities, at the J.R. Faison school, were domestic skills, agriculture skills, trade skills. They taught core academics and industry-specific skills. So the textile manufacturing and local trades that were here in our community, they taught those to the students that attended the J.R. Faison school. So now that you know a little bit about the history of the J.R. Faison school, it'll make sense as we continue throughout this presentation. So what we will bring to our community through through Oasis Community Center is, number one, we'll bring recreational activities, and the intent of that is to build strong, confident leaders. So recreational activities is more than just sports. It's more than just entertaining. It builds character, confidence, and leadership skills. So through these activities and structured programs, we will teach our youth teamwork, discipline, and perseverance by preparing them for life's challenges. In communities with limited opportunities like ours, these activities serve as positive outlets that steer young people away from violence and risky behaviors. They foster social connections. They encourage responsibility and instill resilience. So by providing a safe place for recreation, We are empowering the next generation to lead with strength, purpose, and integrity. In addition to recreational activities, we'll also provide counseling. So counseling provides a safe, supportive space for youth to express themselves. They get to process emotions and navigate challenges. And it helps get to the root of problems. It helps prevent negative behaviors. And it also equips young people with coping skills, emotional resilience, and conflict resolution strategies. And with counseling, beyond the individual healing that it provides, it will play a key role in violence prevention, something we so desperately need here in our community. It offers guidance, empathy, and mentorship to replace anger and communication, anger with communication, and fear with confidence. So you have recreational activities, you have counseling. We'll also be providing after school programs. So after school program and tutoring, it bridges the gap between the classroom and the home by providing students with the academic support and the structure they need to succeed. We will reinforce learning, improve literacy, and encourage independence, ensuring that the students of our county stay encouraged and motivated beyond the school hours. Strong academics are directly linked to better behaviors, where students feel confident in their learning. They are less likely to act out and disengage or seek negative outlets. So by investing in after school education, we are not just improving grades, we are instilling discipline, we're fostering confidence, and we're setting youth on the path to success. We also will build a stronger future by providing financial literacy. Financial literacy, it equips youth with the knowledge and the skills to make smart money decisions, and it lays the foundation for lifelong success. So we'll teach things like budgeting, saving, credit management, and responsible spending, so that we can prepare the people and the kids and the youth that come through Oasis Community Center with real world financial responsibilities. We will help break free from generational financial struggles, reduce economic instability, and create pathways to wealth and independence. And I think it keeps getting better. We'll also teach life skills. We'll do things like help build better judgment making and encouraging positive mindsets and thinking skills and community mindset, where they are not just looking to build better lives for themselves, but for the communities that they live in. And lastly, we will be providing an entrepreneur and a skill building workshop, much like that what you heard about the J.R. Faison School. We want to provide training centers that are dedicated to entrepreneurship and business development, which equips individuals with the skills that they need to start and sustain successful businesses. In our ministry alone, we have general contractors, we have truckers, we have landscapers, we have people who have catering businesses, tax businesses, financial service brokers. We have a lot of in-house skills and tools that we have learned and that people have taken the time to pour into us, that we want to pour back into our community. So by fostering innovation through these types of programs, we want to build economic growth and self-sufficiency. So these programs will help create jobs, they'll reduce unemployment, and strengthen the local economy. So like Twinkle shared a little bit about what the J.R. Faison School done in our community in the early 1900s, this is the work that we want to continue doing even now. The citizens of the county came together and they helped to provide what was needed for the JR facing community, for the JR facing school. And that's what we're looking for, is for the community to come together and to provide the things that our county so desperately needs.
I just want to add that also the name Oasis, it stands for overcoming all situations in society. It's more than just a name. It's more to it. We just would like to pick up where they left off and continue to move forward to give our youth a better future.
And then before Apostle comes up, I would just add that we grew up here in the county, so we've seen what the lack of resources. We've lived through what the lack of resources looks like in the community. But fortunately, someone took the time to pour into us. Fortunately, someone saw what we were capable of, and we just want to give back and do the same thing to our community and the youth of the community.
There again, thank you, gentlemen, for giving us the opportunity to let you know what this community center project that we have on the table will be all about. We've been down there 27 years. J.R. Faison School closed in 1985, I believe, and those ball fields have been there for over 40-something years. And it's always been our intent at trying to seek out how we could obtain that. It's needed. You know, you see for yourself, you know, what our heart is, you know, what our vision is. The Lord gave us this vision. And so I pray that you guys will strongly consider, because I came here a couple of years ago, the school board was really trying to, Mr. McLean, before he left, he was really interested in trying to do what he could to help us. And we kind of been, you know, going back and forth a little bit, but he's retired now, no longer here, but the vision is still here. So I just asked the Board of Commissioners if you would strongly consider doing what you can do to assist us with this. I know Mr. Carter asked me a question last time I was here. He said, Apostle Chambers, are you asking me that we need to give this to you? And I want to answer that this way. We're not asking for something that's not already there. It's always been a part of J.R. Faison. You know, those ball fields have been there. We need those ball fields. You know, I mean, I'm born here in Anson County. I grew up in Charlotte, came back in the 9th grade, graduated high school here, you know. Joined the service and came back years later. But I've been here now, I've been back here now for, you know, over 30-something years. And so I'm grateful. I'm proud of the work that the Lord has called us to do. So with that being said, you know, I just pray that you guys will strongly consider what we're asking for. It's not like we're asking for something on the other side of the county. We're asking for something that was originally a part of J.R. Faison. And J.R. Faison is a historical site. And there's a lot of people that went to that school. My mother is 90 years old. She graduated from that same school. That's the church that I pastor now. And I've had several people come through from the J.R. Faison alma mater, so to speak. They come to the restaurant, they have their business meetings, they're interested in trying to help. So that's all we're looking for. We're asking you to try to help. If at all, Mr. Carter, I'm coming back to you since you asked me that question. If you guys decide that you would give this back to us, we don't want the county to incur any kind of cost. We're willing to pay for whatever attorney's fees or anything of that nature, you know. We're willing to cover all that, and yet and still, I don't know too much else to say, you know, but I hope that you guys have a clear understanding as to what it is that we're trying to do.
Well, thank you for the presentation, wonderful presentation, and explaining the mission of your community and your work there. You're doing amazing work there, and I appreciate it, and I know the citizens of the community appreciate it. So I guess as far as moving forward with the property, we'll consult with our attorney on what our options are to dispose of the property. Currently, if I'm not correct, we technically do not own the property yet. It still belongs to the school board. They have not finalize the deed and all that. So we technically can't do anything at this point, but we will entertain that idea and consult with our attorney.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
at this time, are there any other questions from commissioners for Mr. Chambers? Yes, sir, Mr. Gatewood.
I would just like to thank you for being here. Thank you for making a very sincere, excellent presentation, excellent visuals, and excellent documentation.
Yes, sir.
I've heard a lot about Mr. J.R. Faison, but it's the first time I've seen a picture of it.
Right.
Really appreciate it.
All right.
Job well done.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful presentation.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to our next appearances, we have Miss Lula Jackson and Mr. Wendell Small.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for
Good
allowing
evening.
us the time
Evening.
to be here on this evening. We are here to talk about a hybrid flexible schedule, and for the sake of the audience and those watching virtually, we will go over what has been submitted. I'll go over the overview, benefits, and the potential challenges, and then Mr. Smalls will talk about the hybrid models and our next steps. So, in reference to the overview, the workplace landscape is evolving with hybrid work models proven to enhance efficiency, employee satisfaction, and organizational success. Given the fiscal constraints of the county that may prevent a COLA for 25-26, we urge the board to consider alternative strategies to support retention and recruitment. Implementing a flexible hybrid work schedule is a viable option that would benefit both county departments and the citizens we serve, providing improved work-life balance, operational efficiency, and cost effectiveness. Benefits of a hybrid flexible schedule. Number one, enhanced productivity. Employees can optimize their work environment to minimize distractions and improve efficiencies. Improve work-life balance. Flexible scheduling fosters well-being, reduces stress, and boosts morale. Cost savings. Employees in County of Anson benefit from reduced commuting expenses and lower overhead costs. Full-time employee salaries are already budgeted annually, meaning no additional salary expense for the county. Higher morale may help reduce overtime requirements and prevent excessive compensation time accrual due to staff shortages. Employees would gain flexibility to schedule appointments and personal obligations within the flexible hours, allowing them to preserve their available leave balance for future use. Stronger talent attraction and retention. Many professionals now prioritize flexibility when evaluating career opportunities. The potential challenges, communication and collaboration. Currently, there are digital tools such as Microsoft Teams that can maintain strong connectivity and teamwork across departments. Maintain company culture, regular check-ins, virtual team building activities, and designated in-office days will ensure department cohesion remains strong. Accountability and productivity tracking. Setting clear performance metrics and expectations ensure work quality remains high.
Chairman, Board of Commissioners, suggested hybrid models for a flexible work schedule. Pending Board of Commissioners approval, we propose the following flexible work structures with oversight from department heads to tailor schedules that best serve citizens and employees. Number one, 3 in-office days for collaboration. We have 2 remote days for focused work. 2, staggered schedules, allowing employees to choose an arrangement that aligns with county guidelines. 3, modified 4-day work week. For example, a full-time employee with a standard 40-hour work week, the full-time employee would work 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days, improving flexibility while maintaining full-time work hours. A general policy drafted by Human Resources will establish eligibility guidelines and ensure the schedule remains a privilege subject to review. Each department will develop specific guidelines ensuring productivity and service continuity. If at any time a flexible or hybrid schedule negatively impacts service quality, it may be modified or discontinued per department. Next steps, June 3rd, 2025, final draft approval and adoption of the draft policy. July 1st, the start of our new fiscal year, effective date for implementation. Members of the Flexible Schedule Committee are available to address questions from board members during the policy development process. They are Katie Ingram, Lula Jackson, Holly Martinez Borja, Dwayne McCoy, Larry Newton, Mike Sessions, and myself, Wendell Small.
You also have copies of the proposed policy change that would go in the personnel ordinance. Primarily what that consists of is adding the alternative work schedule option in, and also just pretty much updating the policy to 2025. I think the last time this policy was changes were made was 2008.
I believe 2008.
2008. We would also like to share that the this policy and this flex schedule has been discussed during a department head meeting. Department head members discussed the policy, the challenges, the flexible scheduling, the accountability of it all, and at that meeting, the department heads were in agreement with us coming forth before the board and making this request. And so our request on tonight is that the proposed schedule and policy be accepted, and we are available to answer any questions that you may have.
Do you have any questions at this time?
You said benefits of this would help with retention and recruitment, correct? I guess with this scheduling.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I heard her say.
Yes, sir.
And more important, I know, I guess what some of the challenges have been is added costs, but there is no added cost to this either.
Not
to the county.
Not
right.
to the addition of the policy. No.
Right. Okay.
So working from home, no additional equipment or anything like that would be needed to be gathered?
Currently, we are updating and on a rotation for updated IT equipment, electronic equipment. So the equipment that the staff currently has would make it, there would not have to be any setup cost in a home or anything like that. That would not be required. They would use the same equipment that they use at the office.
They take their county computers home?
Yes, county issued laptops, yes.
Would they have to have a VPN at their residence to get on the state system?
They would not. A lot of the systems now have progressed to being web-based.
How would you deal with situations where people live in areas where they don't have internet access?
We dealt a little bit with this during COVID and during the renovations at Department of Social Services, where we had to work remotely, and we worked with IT to make available hotspots and whatever other high-powered equipment we would need to have access.
Which is all
we do have access to hotspot equipment, and also to Commissioner Mims' question, I do have access to a VPN when I'm away from the office.
Which model are you looking towards?
The models would be based on the department and the needs of the department. So there's not a one set model for any department.
So a 10-hour day, it would start when and end when?
The hope is that it would be effective July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the there would not be an end because we will be so efficient and effective that there would not be a need for an end.
No, you mean what?
What's the
hourly?
The hours.
7 to 5.
No,
Each department will set their own guidelines
Right.
with approval from HR and the county manager.
So basically, next steps in this is to get an approval, and you all have already worked out some models for this, and each department they would have their model for their department, and then in hopes of getting this implemented by July 1, right? And this would be more effective for our departments, I guess is what you're proposing.
This will, our departments will be efficient.
Right, that's right.
As long as it doesn't hurt the service to the county and the community.
Right, that's right. Well, I'm willing to put a motion on the floor to make that motion to approve the flex scheduling.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ellery to approve I guess you're approving all 3 hybrid models as presented.
Now, in your packet, there's a policy,
right?
A draft policy.
Yeah, well, we're approving the flex scheduling for them to go to the next step to approve what they'll make that approval.
Okay, so your motion is to approve the
flex scheduling
proposed policy that's in our packet.
Right.
Okay, and we have a second by Commissioner Little Reed. Is there any other discussion on that?
Yeah. I'm not sure I know what we're approving. I mean, we've got 3 options here. 1, 3 days in the office, 2 remote days, a modified 4-day work week, staggered schedule. So what are we recommending?
The policy, if you look at
there's a policy
the policy section C, where it talks about alternative work options. So, and the options would be department specific.
Right.
During the discussion, all departments were aware that this flexible hybrid work schedule may not work for their department. So it's not a one-size-fit-all, and it's not a one program for all departments. So each department would determine whether or not which hybrid schedule would work for their department. And to get the work done, the focus is on making sure that all work requirements are met, making sure that services to the citizens is never interrupted, and that's why there would be an opportunity to review if need be. There are departments, and now.
Would you like me to read the draft?
Now, just for the sake of it, we currently have some departments that operate with flex, right?
Yes,
right.
correct.
So this is not no brand new idea. I want to make that clear, right? Just to the other departments. Exactly, yes. The same opportunity that is already provided.
Yes,
now,
correct.
for clarity, we're not approving a base model that one department would utilize to the next department. That would then be the department heads who would oversee that and make that determination, right? Which model is best for that department.
Correct.
Right. That's why my motion is still staying. I wanted to make sure that we was approving the flex scheduling and leaving it up to the department heads, because they run that department anyhow, to determine how those that work underneath their department would work based upon the schedule.
I'm over 2 departments, and
right.
I know how those departments operate, but I can't tell another department how they operate.
Right. You would operate the Parks and Rec and maintenance.
Yes.
Those are your 2 departments.
Yes.
So Wendell Smalls will be in charge of what the flex scheduling would be for Park and Rec and the maintenance department,
yes.
while Mrs. Lula Jackson would oversee the flex scheduling for DSS. And you know how that department run, because that's why you have that job. So it's not a one size fit all. I want to make sure I have clarity on why I made my motion, why I made it. Okay.
Well, my question is, what about the departments on 12 hours and 24 hours? How would they flex?
My understanding is, by being a 12-hour or 24-hour employee, that is flex.
Right. You already flex time if you work 12 hours. because you rotate days and you.
Because you're not working
Do
a
anybody
standard
working 12 hours for the county work every
40-hour
single
work
day?
week. I mean,
they work 5
5-day
and
work
2.
Right. So when they work, they take off days. That's called flex.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
For clarification, and that is, what other counties in North Carolina allow employees to work 3 days in the office with 2 remote days during the course of 1 week?
There are several counties that may not be specific to the 3 days in office and the 2 days remote. The 3-day in office and 2-day remote was specifically in reference to a proposal for Anson County, because there was concern in reference to having staff work strictly remote. So that was why that was put here. But there are counties that have remote work positions. There are
Union County got it.
Union County has remote work positions. I think Iredell County has remote work positions. Moore County has remote work positions. Lee
What
County
about
is,
Mecklenburg County?
Mecklenburg County has any type of position you can imagine. They have all sorts of positions. And with the understanding that even with hybrid models, they fluctuate from point in time to point in time because work processes change. So they're not per se set in stone where everything is always done the same year after year after year. So there is transition from the different models based on the workflow and the needs of the citizens.
Mr. Leary?
I have 2. One is,
Did we answer?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Did we answer Mr. Gabriel's
You
question?
answered my question?
Yes, sir.
first one is for you, Mr. Manager. What's you're over all the departments, you know. What's your thoughts, considerations? Do you want to see this for the employees?
I've actually been getting this request since probably the second or third day I came to work in the county over 2.5 years ago. And it's not just Wendell and Miss Jackson. I have a lot of it from folks that work downstairs where they say they can work, 8-hour days and they can, or 10-hour days actually. So they would open up probably a lot earlier than 8:30. For instance, they could work from 7 to 5 or something like that, and then on this one, and they can work Monday through Thursday, and then on the other one work Tuesday through Friday. So I know that other places do it. Is it the right model for Anson County? The reason they presented it as they have presented it, I think they did a good job, is I put Wendell and Miss Jackson in charge, and I knew that one commissioner here, and he hasn't asked that question to me yet, but just in case he's thinking about it, I had every department head but one, and that person should remain nameless, who attended who had attended my department head meeting, and I had them vote with a show of hands, and it was unanimous.
In favor of
In favor, yes.
In favor of what, Mr.
In
Sussman?
favor of what was just presented by Miss Jackson and Wendell. Because they did, I had them present exactly what they were going to present to you, and like I said, they were sitting there, and it was a lively discussion for about 2 hours.
Okay. You got one more, Mr. Leary?
Yeah,
And then we'll come,
I
Mr.
had
Woodman.
2. Secondly, so you have departments that may have limited employees, some that have a lot of employees. Here's however you want to name this. You have one employee that's been given okay. You're going to you can have every Wednesday off for this year. Now you have.
That's not how flex. That's not how flex work. Flex is a rotating schedule that the department heads they'll do it. We just approve it. They know how their department run. They can't just have a certain. I don't think it works that way.
If you have a department head that lets somebody work on a flex schedule and they're gonna, work their 4 10-hour days, and their day off is Wednesday, that you've agreed upon with this employee, yes, it can be amended to change over the department head. Are we going to potentially have HR complaints because now 2 other employees want that Wednesday off?
I think
this
that's how this
person,
begin.
and then you start getting complaints from employees talking about, well, why does she always get the Wednesday off?
Well, I think that's how this began.
Agreed upon between these employees, that, you know what I mean? And I understand it falls back on the department head, and they're ultimately responsible. So if they make that decision, they stick by their decision and deal with their employees. So,
and also, once the department head sets the guidelines, it has to be approved by the county manager.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones I've talked to, for instance, you use Wednesday. A lot of people would like to have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off.
Right.
And others would like to have Saturday, Sunday, and then take Monday off.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see more of that than having to take off in the middle of the week. Although there are some people that would rather work 2 days on and have the next day off,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't travel a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why Ms. Jackson and Mr. Small put together something that's flexible, and it really is flexible. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that every department head had a chance to have their input and also to vote in an independent process. I said, you guys are actually, and ladies are driving the bus. It's going to be presented by these two, and they did a good job. And
They did an excellent job.
So are you in approval of it?
Right, because as been pointed out, if it doesn't work, we roll it back to where we are now.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. There's somebody in the crowd that wants to speak. I don't know.
Yes, Ms. Lett, as a county employee.
I was at the department head meeting with them, and you know, it's not feasible for us at the animal shelter and animal control to do the flex schedule, but, Chairman Lear, I brought up the same thing. It's not fair for Sally Sue to be off every Tuesday and Betty Joe to be off every Friday, and I brought up the same point with them. I mean, it needs to be rotated through the employees that can do it, because there will be, you know, hard feelings if somebody's always off a specific day. And I voted for it for the rest of, you know, the rest of my teammates in the county, even though it's not feasible for us, just like it's not feasible for the sheriff's department. I mean, we're not on 12-hour shifts, but we're still a 24/7 operation, and that. But I mean, if it's gonna make the rest, if it's gonna make 90% of the employees for the county happy, I voted for it. I mean, we won't get to use it, but I mean, I see where they're coming from.
I hadn't been here long, but
Thank you, Ms. Lett.
I haven't been here long, but I've heard that's kind of how some of this come about. Is I've heard complaints of people who had the opportunity to work remotely, right, and they were approved. However, I don't know. I don't handle that. But back to the discussion at hand. There's a motion still on the floor. It's been seconded, and
we're still discussing
can I
that
read
motion,
the proposed draft? It's in, like I said, it's
in the
included
packet.
in your
Yeah,
packet.
I saw it. Yeah, I
do
looked over.
Do you mind if I read it?
That's fine.
Sure.
Article 5, Conditions of Employment, Section 1, Work Period and Work Week. A, the standard work period for employees not eligible for a special exception under Section 207K of the FLSA will consist of 7 consecutive days as established by the county manager. For employees who are eligible for the special exception under Section 207K of the FLSA, a standard work period of not less than 7 days or more than 28 days consecutive shall be established by the county manager consistent with the requirements of the FLSA and are subject to overtime provisions set forth in the pay and position classification policy in the county personnel ordinance. B, the normal working hours for employees are from 8:30 to 5 with 1 hour unpaid lunch period except for those employees who are determined to be exempt based on the FLSA guidelines. C, alternative work options such as compressed work week or flex hours, including working remotely, may be considered when shown to be in the best interest of the county. When occasions arise where the service to the citizens can be improved through adjustment of an employee's work hours, prior approval must be obtained from the county manager before a department head can make adjustments to the work hours of an employee. Each department head will develop the work plan for their department. Individual requests for adjustments to work hours by an employee for personal reasons must be evaluated by the department head to determine the effect on the workload of the department and service to the citizens. The department head must notify the county manager when granting such adjustments. Regular employees who have completed their probationary period are eligible to participate. D. Part-time employees may be assigned hours that vary from the normal office hours due to the nature of their work and hours of operations of the department.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodburn, I think you had a comment.
Just one, I guess, and as I understand it, each department will decide which of these schedules they want to go on, and it's up to the department head to make that decision. The employees will not have any input into it. Is that correct?
The employees will have input, but the final determination will come from management.
Okay.
The discussion me and you had earlier, can you explain to the board about how working from home will be monitored?
In reference specifically for Department of Social Services, specifically in income maintenance and child support services, those programs are web-based. There are programs that provide information on activity in the program. So anytime that a staff member may be dormant for any particular amount of time, the systems determine and reports are provided to give you that information. Flex or remote work would also allow time for uninterrupted time, specifically in reference to social workers for documentation requests that have to be submitted in a timely manner, making sure that it is available for audits by program areas, and also so that that information is accurate and complete when presented to the courts.
I think that would hold true for all employees. That's mostly for. So.
That would be the case even if they were internal. Even internally, there are programs that help managers to determine who's working and who's not.
When I read the packet, but hearing in your presentation, enhanced productivity. All right. So the COLA subject line was somewhat still touching with this for me, because if we're not doing a COLA and all of that kind of a thing, and then the making mention of trying to find who do you give them to, right? Maybe everybody shouldn't get it if everybody's not productive. This could possibly lead to seeing, who is being productive, because with this type of scheduling, you'll know who's working when and all of that kind of a thing. So that is why I support it. If it's going to enhance productivity, I think that we should give it a shot. And as well as the retention, not losing employees, and give us opportunity to recruit some as well. So thank you for that presentation. I did want to say that y'all did a wonderful job with it.
Mr. Leary.
All right.
Yes, sir.
More for the board, also maybe I'll have insights too. So this is in lieu of a cost of living adjustment. As it's written, it may not be able to afford a COLA. We urge the board to consider alternative strategies to support employee retention and recruitment. So there's some departments that are not going to be able to function with any type of hybrid or flex schedule. It's not going to benefit them. Animal control just said that it's not really going to work for them. We have vacancies in animal control right now. What is this board willing to do to support retention and recruitment of these other departments?
I think that's probably one of the, from my understanding, it was a unanimous vote from what the county manager said. In all the other,
it was unanimous among the department. I'm talking about these departments that aren't going to be able to use it. It's not going to help them.
These departments were there and voted that this would be useful for them. So I mean, I that's kind of like going against what was stated. The county manager said that all the departments were in favor of it. She said she wasn't. I mean, and unfortunately, we only have 2 employees in that department. Yeah.
So everybody understands I'm saying there's some departments that are not going to be able to use the hybrid and flexible schedule.
There's one.
What's the other one?
There's only one that mentioned that.
But
We won't be able to use it because we're a 24-hour operation. But I mean, if
Okay.
it makes every,
no, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the departments that can or that
Can I ask
cannot
this
use
question?
it. I'm not saying that it's anything.
Did you have any? My question is, did you have any department that said they couldn't?
No retention. It's not going to benefit.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Leary.
All right. So what I mean, the hybrid and flexible schedule proposal from the 3 departments that I can name right now, that it's not going to benefit their retention and recruitment.
Who are those?
Is the animal control that just said it.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff's department, it's not going to benefit them any. EMS, it's not going to benefit the employee retention and recruitment for this passing. All I'm saying is, and there might be more departments out there that look at it and say, I'm not able to use this hybrid and flexible work schedule. This doesn't help my employee retention and recruitment. What are we going to possibly do for those departments to support their employee retention and recruitment? That's all I'm saying.
Now, I heard that. Now, right, I understand. So here's the thing. This is my perspective. I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm trying to figure things out. For the sake of fairness, right? I don't think a flex schedule will help. Possibly, I don't know. I don't work for the sheriff department. Never have. I've never been in EMS. It may not help you, but I'm sure it's not going to hurt you.
And I'm not saying.
All right, so
the record.
I know.
I didn't say I was against it either. All I asked the board was, what can we do to help other departments as the need comes arise for employee retention and recruitment? We have an animal control department right now that needs recruitment.
Well, needs help with that's going to be probably spend some more money. Ain't nobody going to chase dogs for $35,000. I mean, that's the answer to that. But to come back to the flex schedule, while the sheriff department, and I don't know, I haven't heard the sheriff say that. Maybe Commissioner Mims can speak along those lines. He's the chief deputy. Maybe he can tell us. I don't know what the sheriff department need or don't need, as it pertains to a flex schedule. I've been told the sheriff department ain't the county anyway. The EMS, you guys are already on flex. So this may not be an improvement for EMS. It may not be an improvement for the sheriff department, but it is for every other department we have. And I'm not just thinking about the couple department. I'm saying me. I'm not saying you. I want to make that clear. But if it has been a unanimous vote by all of the department heads that this work, I don't know what we're talking about. Maybe a couple potentials, and I'd like to hear that, but I don't see how this is a detriment to, because two of those 3 departments you named are already on flex. They are already, a sheriff department operate on flex.
That is not a flex schedule.
So do people work every day, Monday through Friday?
That's not what I'm saying. If we went to an 8-hour schedule, we'd have double the staff to make up the same thing.
Public safety don't work 8 hours.
Some of them do.
Okay, that's those administrative mostly probably. Okay. I don't know. I'm asking the question. Rotating deputies or officers on the road, they typically work 12 hours, right?
Not everywhere.
Not everywhere. I'm saying in our
county, yes.
So I can't speak for nowhere else but us. So they are on a flex schedule. If they work 12 hours, they're working so many days and they're off so many days. What I'm getting at is these departments, this 2 or 3, because he represents 2, she represents 1, they put together a very detailed outline that could potentially enhance productivity for other departments, right? That's all I know. EMS do they work so many days on and so many days off? Do you work that way?
4 hours on, 72 hours off.
So that's flex, right?
Set schedule.
I understand, but it's a flex schedule. That's how it works. You don't work You work on a schedule that works around certain hours, and I get that. I mean, you know.
I think.
Mr. Leary, if I may, I just want to say that in
Yeah.
reference to it, COLA is mentioned in the presentation, but please note that the request is from a management standpoint and not necessarily from just a COLA standpoint. So even if we were getting a COLA, we would also want this to be taken into consideration.
Yes, and I understand that, and it's nothing against your presentation. I'm not against it. All right, I want to put that out there. I'm supporting whatever the manager supports. If he supports this, I'm going to support the manager because he's over the department heads. The department heads over their employees. All right, that's why I asked the manager. All I was trying to make a motion towards was we still have retention and recruitment problems in certain departments that may need to be addressed in the future. That's.
And I just want to acknowledge that the counties that do have a flex policy, they also have a sheriff's department and EMS.
Yeah.
So they've allowed it to work.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it can't work. I'm not saying I'm against it. You know what I mean? And I think you understand that. All I was talking about on the other sidebar, the other departments that need help with the retention and recruitment, I don't want them to feel left out. I want the other departments that are not able to use this know that Commissioner Leary still supports the retention and recruitment within the other departments.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So I would say let's take one thing at a time, go ahead and move with this, and then the other part of it we can look at afterwards.
I was going to ask, is there a reason why a 4 10-hour work, 4 days, 10 hours a day does not work for all departments, excluding law enforcement, EMS, and animal shelter?
For Department of Social Services, it would have to be approved by the state for us not to be open only 4 days a week. We would have to have state approval, so it would be more than just approval from the board.
Well, you would be open. In other words, all employees wouldn't be off the same day every week.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying 4 10-hour days.
Yeah, but my concern with this model, and I'm not against flex scheduling. I can agree that flex scheduling has a place. My concern is the citizens. We're going to have citizens that need to go to one department. Well, they're not in the office today. You got to do it online. The next day, they're going to go to one and say, oh, well, they were here, but I tried to log online and couldn't get to them. There's no consistency with this plan. And the reason I asked about the 4-day work week, if we could make it consistent across the board and all county departments that are eligible, excluding law enforcement and EMS, if we could all do a 4-day work week, 10 hours, that improves the hours of service for the citizens. So if you need to go down to the tag office, normal citizens that work 8 to 5 may not fit it in that schedule, but if we open at 7, maybe that citizen could go at 7 o'clock and get their tag work done, or after 5 o'clock.
But then they wouldn't be able to go on Friday.
No, the office would still be open because somebody, in other words, the department head, in that case, Mr. Newton, would schedule a schedule where coverage is always there.
Right. Yeah.
So, Ms. Jackson, in your department, you would maintain coverage 5 days a week, but you would allow whatever employees, however you handle that, they get their 1 day a week off, and I'm sure it's going to rotate.
The primary problem with that, currently, Anson County Department of Social Services is 100% female. And for staff to do 10-hour days would impact their child care costs. And that would be kind of detrimental to them to be available for to work 10 hours because of primarily because of a, possibly because of a child care situation or a care that they're providing to someone else situation.
So I guess mainly what you just said is that you're really not favoring the 4-day work week before 10 hours.
A 4-day, there are days, and I'm sure you are aware, that or weeks when my social work staff work 3 and 4 10-hour days. And so I can't say that I would not be in favor of doing that. It would be based on the department and the availability of the staff.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My primary concern is having employees working from home. We provide offices, we pay for the offices, and I strongly believe that employees should come to the office to work. As far as the rest of the flex schedule, I don't have any problems at all. But during COVID, I received a lot of complaints of concerns from employees who were working remotely. They had to because the offices were closed. They said there's a lot of distractions. Kids, pets, mother, grandmother, auntie, uncle, boyfriend, girlfriend. Lot of potential distractions. Internet service and connectivity, big concern. And what do you call when you have computer issues from home? I had a call from an employee, I won't call her name because, or his name, because the person is now retired. They were working remotely from the beach. And I'm just thinking, is that really appropriate? So again, I don't have any problems with flex scheduling, but I do have a problem with working from home or working remotely.
I share that same sentiment, which is why if we're going to do a flex scheduling, I think we should make it consistent, and I kind of lean towards the 4-day work week, and that's consistent across the board. If that works for all departments, obviously that would be the department head's decision. I just think that provides consistency for the citizens of the county who are utilizing the services of what we're providing.
But didn't you just say the state has approved that too?
Yes, but he was not talking about closing the agency.
The whole agency would not be closed. The agency would be open 5 days a week. Technically, we would be extending the hours of service by doing 4 10-hour days.
You have a group off on Monday or something, I guess.
In other words, you'd be off on Monday, he'd be off on Friday, but the office is still open.
But back to respects to, I want to ask the county manager, right? Flex scheduling, and because you would have the expertise on this, do you see this as something that could work?
It can work. I mean, I've worked at places that had 4 10-hour days, and I've worked at one other place that had 37.5-hour weeks for part of them, and 40. Even right now, another department that hasn't been mentioned is utilities, because it's my understanding that a lot of their guys who are in the field come in not at 8:30 and leave at 5, but they make. And I've talked to them, and I said, guys, if Friday afternoon comes and they've got 40, 50 hours in already, rather than paying overtime, if they want to take comp time and go home and have a longer weekend, I'll have no problem with that. But as long as they've got their work done, because they know the ones that are on call, they're going to get called back, and they're subject to that.
Right.
I had an employee ask if I like 4 10-hour days, and I said, great, be 6 and 7.
Yeah, right.
Kind of where I'm at.
Well, let's say about the proposed. What was proposed?
My situation's different, but still a proposal, and I understand most of the ones that I have heard from have mentioned, because they're not at DSS or in either facilities or Parks and Rec, but they're in other departments, and they wanted to work 4 10-hour days, and there's enough of them there to where they could go. They'd be open on Mondays earlier, and then they'd also go. They'd come in like I said, 7:30, whatever, an hour earlier than they are now, and they would stay later. And so they understand that's what would have to happen in order for them to get 4 10-hour days.
Do you think it would be okay to leave that scheduling up to the department heads?
The department heads, I'm hoping from our discussions, have, and I think I've got the confidence in them that they can schedule it.
Right.
If they can't, we need a different department head.
Right, I agree.
I thought you'd agree with that.
You're talking about for a 4-day work week?
No, he's saying move up a proposal.
Whichever way you go, 4 days or, and like I said, that's the ones that are working now, primarily 7.5 hour or 8 hour days, and they can do it. They're not DSS, as I said, so I'm trying to make that clear.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure there's a perfect model that's going to make everybody happy.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on? Cause I'm personally not a fan of 3 in-office days and 2 remote days. But again, I'm gonna go back to the manager, which is over every department, and I know this could. I mean, if this passes, it could be implemented July 1st, and it could be axed August 1st. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But what's your insight on 3 in-office days and 2 remote days? Because the way it's on the motion right now is everything as proposed.
I'm willing to try it because of the fact that you can wax it or eliminate it in a heartbeat.
Right.
Essentially, it's just like, because you have lively discussions now, and this is something that's going on, and I've had department heads ask me, will it pass? And I said, I know there are those that are not really in favor of remote work. Going back to Commissioner Gatewood when he said working from the beach or the mountains.
My question is early on in our previous meetings, we didn't want employees to work from home, but now all of a sudden it's okay for them to work from home.
Well, that's why I'm in favor of it, because we had employees doing it.
But we stopped it.
Did we? I mean,
Yeah. The way
there were certain employees that we're supposed to see here tonight.
for the piece about remote
I get
working,
clarity on
like for my department, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
To answer Mr. Gatewood's concern, I'm not looking for 3 days in the office, 2 days, or 2 days and 3 days. I'm looking for more for my department would be like for trainings. So instead of going to Myrtle Beach or Raleigh to attend a conference, they could watch it like on Teams meeting or some type of online course from their house.
And I would just like to add as well, this is 2025, and the way people do business has changed. People are doing their business electronically. People do bank transactions electronically. There are different businesses that work remotely and have staff working from home. Primarily, it is a management issue. If you do not have department heads in place that are able to manage employees, that's a management issue. That's
Right.
not an employee issue.
That's right.
So this would be a benefit to employees, and it would be the responsibility of the managers and the department heads to make sure that it works accordingly. And that is with the support, with the approval of the county manager. And the Board of Commissioners will have every opportunity to provide their input, to communicate to the manager, to communicate directly to department heads if there are areas of concern. County has invested a lot in leadership programs, different courses for department heads to take, and hopefully that is to build your department heads, to build their knowledge, their skills, and this would allow them the opportunity to implement that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I call for the question. We'll beat this thing to death.
I agree. I just want to caution the board that I've been on the board here, I guess, for a little over 2 years now, and I recall a situation where we had some issues with management managing employee time off when the employees were supposed to be in the office. So I want to make sure that if we can manage them in the office, if we're struggling managing them in the office, are we going to be able to manage them if they're not in the office? It's the manager's responsibility either way.
Paylocity had a glitch in it too. Now you got to look at that. You can expect them to do it if the system is down or not doing what it's supposed to do correctly.
I understand, and I run a company and I submit my payroll every week, and if my payroll company pays my employees too much money, you better believe it, I'm going to be figuring out why. Even though the payroll company is the one that done it.
Okay.
So it's the management responsibility of overseeing that.
Okay, it's the management responsibility, but it was the system they put in that does it.
I understand.
We put it in place and monitor it for a while, and if any changes need to be made, we make the changes, or as it was stated earlier, cut it out.
Yeah. I'd like to note that our county manager, who is working directly with our department heads and, HR, they have a plan and a process for this. I don't work in either department, right? If I am hearing, again, that this is going to improve work-life balance, right? I would love for the people to come work for Anson County to come healthy, with a smile, feeling good. Let's give it a shot. Give these employees, people that work for this county, an opportunity to have a schedule that benefits, the employees. If it don't work, we make the changes.
And I understand, Commissioner Ellaby, and I'm in support of a flex schedule. I'm just not in support of this proposal because it's not consistent enough. I would be more than willing to vote for a 4-day work week tonight, but I'm not willing to vote for this proposal as presented now. So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Ellaby, a second by Commissioner Little Reed to approve the proposal as presented tonight. So that's just my sentiment, and obviously everyone have their vote. So if there's any other discussion, we'll hear it now.
And again, my vote is in confidence of our county manager. He backed this proposal, and my confidence in him thinking that this will work is enough said for me to vote in favor of it.
Okay.
Say something before y'all
Yes, ma'am.
vote. the buildings at DSS and child support are terrible, just like it is at the sheriff office. So, and we've been in those buildings for a long time, and people get sick by being inhaling that mold and asbestos what's in the side of those buildings. So we'll get a little air treatment where they come treat the air, and they say everything's all right, but I'm thinking they doing the bare minimum, because I know I seen plenty of mold over there when it flooded over there
at the jail.
At the jail and down the child support. The water was standing about halfway to my waist, and then it was an odor coming up to the top of the building where we were. He had to go get some filtration just to keep the odor from us. So this is gonna benefit them, so they won't have to sit there and smell, because we can't afford to build no DSS, no sheriff office, or any of that.
We're still gonna have to maintain the buildings.
Well, he does. I mean, wait a minute, don't get it twisted. He does. He
Sure.
does a good job. He goes beyond his duty to make sure everything is taken care of. I've seen plenty of days where he stayed after 5 to do his job.
I agree 100%, and I appreciate the effort you put in.
I don't ask you, just give it an opportunity. Give it a chance.
Okay, so
once again, I call for the question.
The question's been called.
We do have a lot of old buildings.
I understand. Okay, so no further discussion on it. All in favor say aye on the proposal presented.
Aye.
So we have 4 yeses. Any opposed? 3 opposed. So, all right, the motion passes. So your presented hybrid flex scheduling has passed, and if you will, by June 3rd, you'll have us the final approval for the final adoption, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so thank you.
That will come from Ms. Ingram and HR.
Okay, so
thank you.
I just want to explain my yay.
And then implementation will be July 1st.
July, yes. So, but we will see a final proposal before on June 3rd.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Leary.
I voted in reference to our county manager that was in support and oversees the employees and oversees the department heads, and met with all department heads and worked with this, and he said give it a try. I trust our county manager over our department heads, and I think we have a wonderful county manager, and we'll make sure that this is implemented correctly. And I trust that if it is implemented and sees that it doesn't work, that he again will report back and we'll fix the issues. So thank you, Mr. Manager.
And based on what I've heard from the department heads, as well as from Mr. Small and Ms. Jackson, is that each department head will put together in writing their plan and submit it for approval. And then that way they can be held accountable if it doesn't work. And that's what I think I hear hearing the board say.
And that's what I liked about the idea, was to give department heads an opportunity to do just that, head their department.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the next meeting, what will happen?
So on June the 3rd, the manager and our HR director will present a final draft of each department head's proposal of what their intentions are as far as their flex schedule. Is that correct?
That is June 3rd.
June 3rd.
So will this board have to approve it at that point?
Fine, well, yes. I think you've given
Yes.
you've given them a go ahead.
No, basically we've approved for the flex scheduling. He would approve as the county manager, I believe, from what I understand. He would have to approve the what the schedule is. We approve that they can have it, and he would approve each department's schedule, I believe. Yeah.
But at some point, this board will have to approve the text for the personnel ordinance, correct?
Yes, that's what the
Yes,
June
sir.
3rd
That's
meeting
what
is
the June
for.
3rd will be.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes,
We
sir.
approved the proposal. And in their next steps, it says June 3rd, final draft approval and
Right.
adoption. If anything changes in the personnel ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Forbes, but that has to be approved by us, because it's an ordinance.
There are certain procedures for that.
Yes, all right, cool, thanks. All right, let's go forward.
Okay, any other questions on
To
that?
change the ordinance, how many times does it have to be presented?
I don't know, I have to look that up. I can look up the specific procedures, because we haven't changed the ordinance.
If it's not unanimous, yes, we are.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Where?
just a suggestion, and that is, I agree with everything except remote work,
Same
working from home.
Same here.
I agree.
I have some serious concerns about it, and I've had some citizens express those concerns to me as well.
Same here.
As opposed to changing the personnel ordinance on the fly, perhaps we should trial this for a period of time. If we're gonna do it, put it on a 6-month trial. See how it works, and then after the trial, we make adjustments as needed, and then we put something in the personnel ordinance, because once it goes in the personnel ordinance, it's the law. And I'm not ready to sign off on that law just yet.
And I think this thing deserves, it needs a trial period anyway, just to see what tweaks, changes, if it's even gonna work. So,
Right.
yeah, that makes sense, Commissioner Gateway.
And that's what my motion was in reference to giving it an opportunity.
Right.
That's what, so I agree with you
I'm
100%.
sort of formalizing,
Yes.
saying that we need to give it a trial period if we're gonna do it. And I'm suggesting 6 months would give us a good trial.
Okay. So if you're going to bring the proposal on June 3rd, this board will have the opportunity to set the time frame of that final proposal at that point?
Absolutely, because the way I look at it, under state law, this board handles everything that's from an organizational structure for the county. That's stated in the law, right, Mr. Forbes?
Correct.
Okay, and from this perspective, this would be a form of reorganization because there's going to be different departments doing different things schedule-wise. And so that's why I'm saying, I think if Mr. Forbes agrees from a legal standpoint, I think what you can do is approve it on a trial basis, 6 months, say we start July 1, and then we report to you in early January at that first meeting, what's happened in that 6 month time frame.
Okay.
That suits you, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Mr. Small?
Yes, sir.
Out to department heads.
We'll ask them at the next department head meeting.
Okay. So
One other question.
Go ahead.
Did you consider any other alternatives?
In reference to, what do you mean?
Improving morale and retention?
Nothing that wouldn't cost. There were no other options without a cost.
One thing we did talk about that was a cost is that the board historically has provided COLAs when they could. But also I have brought up, because I've had some folks bring up, some folks, department heads bring up, what about pay for performance, which means people would get an evaluation once a year. And I've had pretty much unanimously, we don't want to do that because we've never been trained on how to do an evaluation of an employee. And going back to Susie Q or Billy Bob or whatever, if one of them gets a COLA or a performance increase and the other one doesn't, then you guys are going to hear about it. And lady, trust me, I know. I've been there and done that. Everywhere I've ever been, there have been evaluations done. And for instance, on one of my positions, I would have every department head, regardless of the number of employees they had, by the end of March each year, they would have to evaluate all their employees, whether they had 60 or whether they had 4. And if they didn't do it when I did their evaluation, trust me, they did not get a performance because they didn't do part of their job.
So now, would this require personnel ordinance change? I know was brought up. What is the ordinance that prevents it? I'm just curious. I mean, from knowledge of what?
If you
What is?
This is a
What does it
proposed
say?
change.
I'm saying, what does it say?
This is a proposed change to the current ordinance.
Okay. Okay. So,
Like the section that I read, section 5, Article 5. It's in your packet.
Right,
What's currently written there's not much.
Mhm.
And then this replaces that
article.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. So we will have the opportunity to address the trial date time frame at the June 3rd meeting. So.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Forbes didn't disagree, so that's correct.
All right.
I don't know if you heard.
Any final discussions on that? All right. We're going to move on.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, y'all have a good evening.
Okay, we do not have any public addresses to the board tonight, so we're going to move on down to our manager's report. And first up is the former J.R. Faison school property.
We do not own it yet, and as you've heard, a proposal from Apostle Chambers, which was very nice, very detailed. So it's my understanding that Mr. Forbes has talked to the the school board attorney, and he's supposed to be working on something.
He is. I'm gonna go ahead, I don't wanna drop a bombshell, but I'm gonna also look to see what the procedure is and if it's still allowed because of some constitutional laws and all, and I'll present case law to you to see if we can even do what has been asked of us to do. And I'll give every one of y'all my thoughts on that.
Okay, but our first step is we have to, I guess, technically purchase the land from the school or acquire the property. And so the school board attorney is working on that currently?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
I spoke with him today, and he is working on that with the school board at this moment.
Okay. So,
Well, maybe not this moment, but
well,
it's not.
yes.
How
Yes.
many acres of land are we talking about, and what is the estimated value of that property?
Right at 9 acres, and it's, I came up with,
About 150.
I came up with 151,000 from somewhere.
That's the ballpark, yes, sir.
I think that's what.
Yeah.
So I think it's 8.9 acres.
And that's my recollection as well, it was over $100,000.
Yeah, 151,000.
That's our estimate.
Right.
My question is, can we afford to give away that much money, knowing that we're building a new middle school that's running over budget, and we're gonna have to close that budget somehow? Would it be prudent for us to take the funds from the sale of that property and apply it to the new middle school project?
I'm thinking, you know, that just because of the
Location.
requirements that we have to meet, is basically we have to put it out there for public, because you know he may not be the only one interested in it. I don't think anybody else is, but so that we don't get caught up in any legal issues because we offered it to one individual, we've got to put it out there for public auction.
Yes,
And
that's
we can
why
set a minimum bid for it.
That's why I said we'd refer to the attorney on the proper procedures, what we are held constitutionally to do, to sell it. But I do think it's kind of, I don't know if you call it the elephant in the room, but the school board's sitting there at a deficit. They're needing money. They own the property. Why wouldn't they sell it and get the money? So I've still been able
If you want us to sell it for them, give them the money toward the middle school, then that would be a prudent move in my opinion.
That's kind of what I thought, but
I'll just throw it out there. I'm in total agreement with that as well. The middle school's got to be funded some way. They gave us the land.
Yeah.
Let's put it up, get the highest bidder.
I'm still not sure why they didn't sell it themselves, but but either way.
I don't think it's been many. I don't think it's been many interested in buying it. If you want to, I mean, that's the answer to that question.
Okay.
Location is always key
yeah.
in purchasing land.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And nobody shared any interest in that area.
Well, we know we have one interested party, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So,
Well, I may be interested.
okay.
Well, that'd be
I
nice.
can get it at the right price.
You are entitled to that. Okay, so we should know something by our June 3rd meeting.
I will convey any information I get that they give me. I'll convey anything to the board. Be
Okay.
glad to. Okay.
All right.
There's also some disposal information that I'm working on too, and
Them still doing the deed.
Commissioner Gatewood is spot on with some of his things about being legal.
Yes. So, okay. Any other discussion on the school property? All right. Hear none.
What's the hold up with the deed? I'm just curious. What's the hold up with the deed, the transfer of the deed? What's the hold up?
I spoke with Attorney Mike Flake today, and the board has not agreed to accept the $10 offer that we made them yet. That's all.
$10 offer.
The board, who?
I'm saying what Mike Flake told me today when I talked to
So
him.
the board changed their mind.
I didn't say that.
I'm just curious.
I'm just telling you what I was.
I got
the
you.
discussion I had with him today, Commissioner Ellery. That's all I heard. Is he's not done that. So.
Got you. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
That's one, you know, what would be the concern if the school board keeps the land and they sell it?
It's what I suggested 6 or 8 months ago when we started this process. So they need money. They have property they don't use. Let them sell it and them keep the money, and we don't have to give it back to them. But I don't know.
Would the board be open to having the county attorney make that recommendation?
They can't sell it without making us an offer.
No.
Well, you know, we're telling them we don't want it. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And legally, they had to offer it to us, which they did.
Right.
Yeah.
They had to offer to us at a
Fair market value.
Right.
We rejected that, then we can reach an agreed value after that, after we counter offered it to them.
So we've done that. So why not we just tell them we don't, and they can go through the process of selling. Can't, I mean, isn't that an option?
We call the interim superintendent.
Mr. Woodman, that would certainly streamline the process
Yeah.
and simplify it quite a bit.
Right.
Yes.
I believe Attorney Flake is working on that. I expect him to
Okay.
have that, especially with the other emails that I have seen on the subject with the board from the school. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get something done.
Okay. If he doesn't have a resolution to us by June the 3rd, we can take action, I guess, to void our motion that's already been made that we would buy the property for $10 and then resell it, because that motion was already made.
I agree.
Okay. All right, moving on, animal control services contract.
Yes, sir. Right now we don't have one. There was one that was presented, and that's my understanding is that we have not been paid that $30,000 and change that was owed from the town of Wadesboro. I did not find any other. I say I didn't, nor did our interim county clerk, any other contracts. I know there's been multiple discussions about how to do this right now. I talked to Attorney Forbes earlier today about it, and we hopefully within the next week, and once the drug test gets through, we have made an offer to someone to take that position. I have also discussed with Ms. Lett, our animal services director, and she has also said, well, if he takes it, we probably need another one, because you can't work them 24/7. I mean, we've had this discussion before about other departments. So my recommendation would be, even though we really can't afford more positions, is to probably really look at hiring another person, approving that, which this board would have to do. If you approve that position, then HR can continue to advertise.
Okay.
Because what I'd like to do is to make sure that we have one on duty all the time with a vehicle, so that if they live on the south end of the county and they got to go to the west side, or vice versa, to get a truck, then by the time they pick that truck up and go to where the animal was, it's probably not going to be there. That's been our experience.
Yes, sir.
And it's also, so what I'm saying is, it's counterproductive.
Yes, sir. So once we, I guess, make an offer, get the results back from the last interview that we had,
person can start.
That person can start. At that point, then we can have the contract negotiations with the town, or whatever that's going to look like, because currently we don't have an animal control officer.
In anticipation of one, I have been discussing with the town attorney on that, in anticipation of us hiring someone, but until we hire someone.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess when we talking about contracts, are we still gonna continue with the contract with the town and the other, and making up a contract with the other municipalities here in the county? What are we gonna go forward with that?
I think that's what Attorney Forbes is saying. Once we get someone hired at animal control, then we can start to execute the contract, whether we're going to change it or execute the one that we already have on file with them now.
Well, what about the other municipalities?
That's up to this board if we want to enter into negotiations with each municipality. Obviously, that would be handled case by case.
I think we probably got to look at that. Like, who's responsible for it? Like Linesville and Morgan, and I mean, I know we don't get calls there, but I'm saying if we did, like, do y'all get animal? I mean, I don't know. I heard that they don't get a lot of complaints elsewhere, so I think that's a tough question. I mean, we're gonna have to do something. I agree with you, because that's a county. Animal control got their county department. I mean, the county has their animal control department, so I think the only thing that's gonna secure is some kind of contract with these municipalities at some point.
Yeah, it was.
Gave us a list of whatever.
Right. Oh yeah, right. But I'm saying we need to solidify that.
That was just based off what Wadesboro's contract stated.
That's a statute, general statute. Is that it's $1 per capita, so it's per. I think we need to put that in place. That's what I was saying. I agree with. We need to look at going trying to get that in place.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll put it like this, and I support it.
Yeah.
And I support that we need to make improvements in our animal control, because just like you said, we need another position. With that being said, with the agreement with the municipalities, that's a way to generate funds into that department. So,
well, what Mr. Forbes could do, if you decide on a dollar amount and you decide you want to contract with each one, we could take the one as a model, or if you will, pro forma, and modify it for every town in the county. And then once you approve it, then we can distribute them obviously to those towns so they can vote on it.
Wouldn't it be fair to end the contract with Wadesboro now and do a complete contract with everybody to make it fair and equitable?
However this board wants to do it, we can do it. Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Are we technically in contract with him?
Yes.
We are? Okay. Well, I know he was saying that yeah.
According to our attorney, we technically both have breached our
That's what I'm saying.
contract.
So I think, yeah.
So
when we do one, we need to look at just it being a pretty much one for all
That's
type deal. Yeah.
not fair. Like I think the town of Wadesboro brought it up that the other municipalities wanted a contract with them, and everybody needs to be in the same contract.
Right. And it'd be the same expectations.
Miss Lett,
So I have
No,
an idea about
it ain't the same amount of people.
yes,
Just let come to the microphone, please. So that
Come
we
to
can
the
hear.
microphone.
come to the microphone, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
We're looking to generate revenue for another position. We can start making all the residents in the county. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
We can start making everybody license their pet. We would make everybody that owns pets in Anson County have a license. When I lived in Canada over 30 years ago, back then we had to license pets up there. So altered pets were like $10 a year licensing fee. If you were a breeder and didn't want to alter your pets, you paid substantially more. It might be $100 a year per pet. That would generate revenue for the county. With the licensing, we do it with microchips. So then we can scan the animals. We put scanning stations all over the county. If somebody's traveling from Charlotte, they pick up somebody's dog, they can take it to a scanning station at night or on the weekend. They scan that animal, it shows up, it belongs at Jamie Cottle's house. They give Jamie a call. You know, the dog goes back there. Animal control doesn't have to come out. We aren't paying somebody overtime. It works in larger areas. It could work here. I mean, I've been going to the town about it for several years now, about their licensing, because it's in the town ordinances that they were supposed to license pets within the city limits of Wadesboro. That's why the county provides free microchips. We just had one last week on Wednesday. We did 300 free vaccines and 47 microchips for free. So it's something that we could do to license pets here in the county, bring in revenue for the county, and then write citations to people that their pets aren't licensed or their pets are being picked up habitually all the time, and that would generate revenue too. Yeah. But we can't do it with one animal control officer. We need another animal control officer, unfortunately. I mean, the county's big. We go all the way from Union to South Carolina, Chesterfield, Cheraw, all the way to Rockingham, all the way to Richmond, all the way to Montgomery County. I mean, it's not feasible for one animal control officer. The sheriff's department thankfully helped us with a case the other week of neglect and abuse, and the sheriff had 7 officers out there to help convict the person. I mean, we can't do it with one person and myself. It's not possible. So, yeah, we need some help.
Okay. I agree too. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate the job that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
The hours you're putting in. The impression I have is that you work probably as many hours as Ms. Lula Jackson does at DSS.
I don't know. I might work more than Lula.
In a typical week, how many hours are you putting in?
Probably close to 60.
60 hours on a typical week.
Yeah. I did transport Saturday to get some dogs out to rescue. I worked Sunday to meet a volunteer that took dogs to rescue in Durham. Yeah, every Thursday before work I do community TVNR and community spay neuter. I take people's pets in the community to Concord
to alleviate animals being turned into the shelter and overpopulation. And we're finally starting to see results. Like right now, everybody in other counties are overrun with cats, and right now we have 3 cats in the shelter. So after 6 years, we're starting to see results, helping people fix their animals. Once a month, we bring in a mobile spay-neuter bus, semi, and we do, on average, 40 to 47 cats a month. So we're fixing right now over 100 animals a month in this county.
Where are we putting these animals that are there for a long time, I guess?
We send them to rescue. We do have to euthanize on occasion. But for the most part, I secure rescue placement for them. Yeah, so I don't know. The North Carolina Department of Agriculture just released the statistics for the state a few weeks ago. So we euthanized 12 animals last year. We brought in 700 and some, we euthanized 12. So out of all of those animals we brought in, all the rest went to rescues. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good statistics.
It's pretty amazing for what we have here in Anson County. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Ladd.
Thank you for the work you do.
You're welcome. I like animals.
All right, so once we get the position filled, then we can look at entering into contract agreements with the municipalities, what that's going to look like as far as our job duties versus what they would handle, and so forth.
That's what Mr. Forbes and I are discussing.
Okay.
Right. But I still just go back to the question of the town of Wakefield, the money that they're behind that we didn't bill for, or however it came out about. Are we still gonna accept that money, or are we gonna go for a contract once we hire somebody? Where are we going with that?
I need to know that because it's my understanding from the town's finance director that she's going to be cutting a check sometime this week or next and sending it $30-some-odd thousand. And even though they're behind, Ms. Lett's department has been collecting dogs. Matter of fact, over half of the calls come from Waitsboro. Very few come from Lylesville and Ansonville.
Yes.
That's up to the board. Y'all have to make that decision.
I'm going to rely on our attorney if we can collect that money and enter into a new contract now, I think that's what we need to do. But if we collect that money and we are held to that contract for 365 more days, I don't think that's very prudent for us to do. I don't think that the contract that we have currently with the town of Wadesboro is not in the best interest of this county. It may be in the best interest of Wadesboro, but it's not this county. So if we can accept that money for back pay and renegotiate the contract currently, I think that's what we need to do.
I don't know if we're in breach of that contract, if we accept that money, if that would not be acknowledging the contract.
That's what I'm.
I'll be glad to study that issue, but off the top of my head, I would say that would be accepting that contract.
So in the rare event, I'm going to say that we should not collect money that they say they owe us, and we should renegotiate the contract now.
That's my thinking.
With all municipalities, yes. Currently, the only contract we have to renegotiate is the town of Wadesboro. So we renegotiate that one, and then we discuss with the municipalities on the case.
Well, the other municipalities, from understanding, are ready to pay.
And they would going forward.
Well, I mean, they're ready to pay.
Yeah, they would going forward. Yeah. So the only one we're not collecting the back pay from would be Wadesboro, because that's what puts us in breach of the contract, which allows us to renegotiate it now. Am I correct?
I'd like to do this in closed session if it's a contract, but what you said, I can't disagree with.
Okay. So is it the board's, I guess, pleasure to not accept the payment?
Or do we need to go in closed session and talk about it?
I would be in agreement with that. I mean, let's start fresh.
Forget about when we come out of closed
Because we didn't even know the contract existed.
Exactly. We've been discussing animal control, and we didn't even know there was a contract there. So obviously, none of these commissioners knew anything about it. So let's just start fresh. Let's start clean, and let's work together with the town of Wadesboro and the other municipalities to tackle animal control. That's my opinion.
Would someone put that in the form of a motion?
I'll do it.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn to not accept, or not bill or accept the $30,000 from the town of Waitsboro and be able to renegotiate the contract.
Negotiate a contract with the town of Waitsboro and municipalities in the county.
Absolutely.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, Mr. Woodburn, second by Commissioner Gatewood. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. So, Ms. Manager, if you'll relay that information to the town, and then Mr. Ford, if you will get us a contract where we can discuss it, what it looks like with the municipalities and the town of Waitsboro.
I'll let the town know not to write us a check. That'll make them happy. That'll save them $30,000.
That's the rare event that I want to turn money down.
Exactly. I thought we should have. You don't believe it. Good NC State guy.
Sometimes you just do what's best for both parties.
There you go.
Okay.
Might not be what you want.
It ain't what I want, but that's the best for both parties.
That's right.
Okay, moving on to our 911 dispatch contract.
Right now, that existing contract expires June 30, midnight, and I know Mr. Forrest has discussed one with the town's attorney, and if he's got anything.
I do.
Okay.
Well, I've got one for us to discuss. What the main holdup appears to be between the town was they wanted a 5-year contract. I spoke with the board. Just in my conversations, it did not appear to be very appetizing for the board to do 5 years without some type of acceleration of the benefits that will be paid to the 2 employees. I have spoken with the town attorney, Aaron Bates. We're going to continue again tomorrow to go on this. I have told him that the board is leaning towards a 2-year contract, and he seemed to think that the council would go with that as well. They still want the 12-month escape period is what I'll do, the cancellation period is. As soon as that approval goes, I'll hammer out the details with him on what we have and be glad to go forward with it.
Okay.
Based on the board's previous action, you said 2 years.
Yes.
At $145,000 per year.
Yes.
Correct.
And that puts the county at the expense of any COLAs or any additional benefits that we may provide to those employees over that 2 years. We're not going to go to the town and ask for any more money for those 2 years.
That's why I was recommending only a 2-year versus 5, because after year 2, we're definitely going to be behind the 8 ball.
Yes. Okay. All right. If you will forward us that once.
I'll be glad to give you an answer tomorrow. I can send an email, tell you what the status is. I'll be glad to do that for y'all.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Manager, anything else?
One last thing I have, and I think Mr. Forrest may have something, but I've got another packet to pass out to each board member before you leave relative to the advertisement for the clerk's position.
Okay. So I think we had a couple additional applicants.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're going to discuss that in Chairman's report in just a few minutes. So, so if you want to give those out now, or are you going to?
I'll stand up and walk around, because that's all I have unless you've got any questions. I'll pass these out, so I don't hold anybody up.
Should be fine.
Should be good? Okay.
Excellent.
We can get them later.
Thank you.
I'll hold you up.
What you doing all that walking?
I like that red tie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so no other comments or issues for the manager at this time? All right, moving on, we'll move on to the chairman's report. I just have 2 items. The first, I just want to bring awareness of, 1 for the commissioners, but 2 for the citizens. On Monday, May 26th, the county will celebrate Memorial Day with a ceremony at Waitsboro Park starting at 10 a.m. This is brought to you by the Anson County Veterans Service and the Veterans Council. I think it's important that we always remember and honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for our county. There's no greater person than than a veteran, in my opinion. So I appreciate all the service, the work that they do providing service to our county and country. So that will be Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. at Wadesboro Park. There will be light refreshments served after the ceremony. And then the other thing, so we obviously have our additional 2 applicants for the clerk's position. We need to discuss a set of time to come in and basically discuss the applications and narrow it down so we can proceed with the hiring process. So it's my suggestion that after the conclusion of this meeting, we will recess this meeting, come back into another meeting at a later date to continue the discussion. So we just need to hammer out a time that works best for everybody. So I'm open for suggestions.
Can we do it on Tuesday the 27th, or Wednesday the 28th, or Thursday the 29th?
29th is a no-go.
Yeah, because
And I'll mention no.
Yeah, 29th is no. We'll tell you why in just a second.
Yeah, and the 28th in the morning would work for me, but after that, the rest of the week's gone, but I'm good for the 27th.
So
Graduation's the 28th.
28th is high school graduation.
Yes, right. I'm gonna be out of town from afternoon of the 28th until evening of the 31st, so.
Is May 27th at 6 p.m. work for everybody?
It's 6 p.m.?
I respectfully request that it be in the evening time because of work.
I respect that too, but I got a trillion meeting the 27th.
Is there a day we could do it in the morning, other than the 27th?
I can do it in the morning of the 28th.
This will be just in reference to the clerk position.
Yes, that's all.
I got a meeting.
It'll be closed session.
I don't
and
know
it'll be,
what time yet with the interim chief, being the sheriff. I don't know what time it's gonna be at.
on that 28th.
28th.
What about June?
What about
What about, what is this? This is, seems it kept, I mean, could we possibly recess?
Is there any day this week?
I just said maybe Friday, what Friday is?
What about tomorrow evening?
Graduation is on Thursday.
Y'all good tomorrow evening?
Thursday
No,
afternoon?
I'm not good tomorrow evening. What about the 22nd? Thursday the 22nd?
I've got some, but I can make it work. I
After
just
5?
cancel it.
After 5?
Yeah, I've got some, Thursday evening, but I mean, if this is what that's the date we wanna do, I'll see if I can change that.
I'll do it like this. I can tentatively we're tentatively schedule it on the 22nd, as long as I can find coverage for my work at EMS, which.
Well, I think it's important that we all be in attendance, and we pick a date where we all can do that.
I think
A date and a time.
What about a Saturday?
My vote for me. No on the 22nd. You're trying to get me to 4th. That's my anniversary.
No, 22nd? No.
That's the whole time we have a meeting here.
We do have interviews after 12 p.m. Could we do it after 12 p.m. on that Thursday?
What Thursday?
This Thursday, this coming Thursday.
The 22nd.
Because I forgot we do have interviews that morning, so I'd have to be on the
We can do
interviews.
it the afternoon, about 6.
I mean, he said this is anniversary.
Yeah,
You
I
got to
don't
get
figure
things
out.
together all day.
Oh, that's
I
right.
thought you was
Yeah,
the
okay.
21st.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're never gonna find a day, all of us.
23rd is a Friday, no, we don't usually do anything on
Y'all gonna about make me
Not
say 8
available
a.m.
23rd.
On Saturday the 24th.
You have something at 8?
On the 23rd?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And if we could do the 22nd at 4 o'clock, I mean, I could make that work, but I don't want to spend my whole evening here.
Well, I mean, I'm good with that.
I can make it at 4 o'clock on the 22nd.
4 o'clock on the 22nd?
That works, I can make that work. Yeah.
That works.
Definitely make that work, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I can find coverage. So,
Okay.
that's,
That work for you?
I mean, worst case scenario,
I might be at
I
work,
trust
man. I
y'all.
might have to do some office.
You can still submit your,
Yes.
I think they'll let me off.
So,
okay, so
Thursday's
Thursday, May 22nd at 4 p.m.
yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So at the end of this meeting, we'll recess until then. Like I said, it'll be a closed session discussion just to go through the applicants and narrow it down, and then we can revise or finalize the process from there.
I will. So we're just thinking like an hour, a little over an hour.
Hopefully.
I mean, that determines, you know, how
Yeah.
Thursday, how long
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah, hopefully an hour, hour and a half, we can.
I think we should plan for 2 hours.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
And now, do we have to do something formally to adopt that plan you just, we just?
We need to vote on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah, when we get to the end.
so the process that was mentioned, do we have to vote on going with that process, that was mentioned via email? Commissioner Gable, do we have to, or how would we do it? Do we adopt this type of process?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a pretty good process. Everyone select their top 3 candidates. Obviously, you can bring all the applicants if you want to, but have your top 3 itemized out, and then we can bring those to the table and basically discuss from there how we narrow that group down.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that was
That would save time.
Yeah, I think that'll save time.
Okay, so I'm fine.
Okay, so Thursday, May 22nd, like I said, bring all the applicants if you want, but just make sure you have 3 top selected.
3 top, yeah.
Should we number them 1, 2, 3? First, top choice, second choice, third choice for potential interview?
I would have them notarized on your end. You don't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
Okay. So the only other thing,
I think another thing in that process too is ones that say, we're all gonna bring 3, and if everybody brings 2 of the same ones, those would be at the top of the list.
Yes.
And then we have to decide on the next 1 or 2 or something like that.
Hopefully we all bring the same 3.
Well, that'd be great. It'd be better.
Yes. Yeah, I guess that would be a ranking system. If there's more than one that selected it, we could rank them higher. Okay. Any other discussion on the recess meeting or?
And that meeting will take place here, correct?
Yes.
All right.
In this boardroom.
That's good.
So,
Thank you.
all right. Moving on, let's have one other item, and I think Mr. Leary may.
If it's the same thing, go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason we can't meet on May 29th, so on next Thursday, May the 29th at 6 p.m., there's going to be a community engagement meeting held at the Ansonville Fire Department in Ansonville. A company that I don't know if all commissioners have attended, but I think the majority of the commissioners have heard a presentation from a company looking to locate in Anson County. They're going to hold this community engagement. We're not requiring them to hold this. They're holding it to get feedback from the citizens of this county as to maybe how they need to move forward before they submit for some rezoning requests. So that's Thursday, May 29th, 6 p.m. at the Ansonville Fire Station on Highway 52 in Ansonville.
Is it at liberty to say where they're wanting to locate at and all that?
They'll explain that. The project is looking to be located in Ansonville. They'll give all the specifics. It will be an informal presentation, one-on-one conversation with the company. The citizens can ask all the questions they want to there. There will be, if they proceed with a rezoning request, there will be another public hearing in this boardroom for the county as well, which is part of our zoning process.
Mr. Forbes, would more than 3 of us be allowed to attend that?
Yes, you would. That is like, you wouldn't be able to vote on anything, discuss any major issues, but that's a great question about quorum.
Yes.
And it is, the rules are designed to allow you all to attend those meetings without commenting, without participating, and without voting on anything.
We cannot take action on that at that night.
Also, a preacher show up in that town.
Another thing too is if you're ever in a gathering anywhere and there's a quorum of the board, you can't discuss any county business.
But that's right, that's what my, okay, that's right.
Okay, so like I said, again, Thursday, May 29th, 6 p.m. at the Ansonville Fire Department.
Be very careful not to fall into the trap of saying, or somebody saying, hey, we got the commissioners here right now, what do y'all think about it?
Don't do that.
Use up for now.
Okay, that is all I have for Chairman's report, so we will move on to any commissioner concerns, comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Lee.
Go ahead.
No, sir, you first.
I just had I think at the last meeting, a couple of meetings ago, we talked about all of the, I guess, property belonging to the county that should be put up for sale. What's the status of that? I'm just curious. one of the things I'm looking at now is selling the wood out at the timber, if you will, out at the airport.
Okay.
I've discussed it with one of our timber experts and another one. And so I've got Mr. Small and I have talked to our airport director, and of course, whatever you sell there, since it's airport land, or
Right.
bought for that purpose, then that goes back into the airport budget.
I understand.
Other lands we have looked at, and there was a discussion by some that they wanted to sell the old hospital site, and others said no. And so you declared a couple things as surplus. And an unfortunate thing is, I'll ask the question now, do you want me to sell them as is, or do you want to clean them up? And the reason I asked that question is because I think one of our presenters earlier today mentioned the term mold. And I can tell you right now, I know we've got a lot of old buildings, and a lot of them are actually eaten up with mold. And when I say mold, I'm talking about the worst kind of black mold.
Right.
And so that is,
My recommendation would be to sell them as is. Let's get rid of them, realizing we probably won't get full value of them.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Small's still here, so we will make that happen.
I think it was discussed at some point with the old water department facility with the fuel tank in the ground. What is the thoughts of advertising it with the fuel tank, selling it as is to save the cost of removing it?
Yeah.
There are certain rules on that. May I please look to see if we are allowed to even do that? I don't want to remain in the chain of liability even after we sell something.
Okay.
That's the key.
Okay.
But I don't know about Tom. Head, I just know there are some.
You research it, let us know so we can.
Gladly.
Okay.
The reason that I brought up at the meeting that the board voted to make those properties surplus to remove the gasoline from the tank was due to the state inspector. In order to declare that site no longer in use, we have to remove all the gas.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree we should get the gas out because we could use it, but if we could sell it without removing the tank, that would be a savings to us.
Of course.
So, okay.
Yeah, we'll move on. What we want.
Yes.
Good.
All right.
And the McLaurin Street building, my staff will remove the furniture from the building, but we'll sell it as is.
Right. And we still have stuff downstairs, and we've been advertising it. I know this board said after 90 days that we could just dispose of it somewhere else. I think Wendell and Mr. Addison, who's not here, have come up with another venue for getting rid of this stuff, because a lot of it's broken furniture, and nobody's going to bid on broken furniture anymore.
And Nick has shown that the state statutes say that if it's broken or posed as a hazard, they can be disposed of.
Okay. Good. I would say take action and get it removed if, as long as we're following the statute that's provided, and get it going.
And while we're talking about disposition of property, we've also, I know, last week, at the request of Commissioner Mims, we looked at that building, and that's, and of course, it's like a 4,200 square foot building. 2,100 square feet of that one is actually, could be used as offices if it was cleaned up. The other half of it is actually part of the old garage that's there. So how much we'll get, we don't know. But during that discussion there, and I think previously this board discussed the possibility of acquiring, I've heard 2 acres, 4 acres, whatever, out at the Emergency Services Center on just off of Country Club Road. Is that still in play?
Well, I'm gonna talk about 2, and Mr. Gaywood said if we could get more than 2, why not get more than 2 for further expansion?
Right, 'cause I think the whole tract that's back there is about 109 acres, 100 acres, somewhere in that range.
It's close to 100 acres.
Close.
I don't know how much they want to sell, as Mr. Ford said.
We'll go back and contact the owners and see how much. Have you contacted Mr. Forbes?
Be glad to.
Okay, cool.
I'll make myself known.
It'll be done.
Okay. Any other discussion on?
Can I just piggyback on the property, just because I've had citizens reach out to me and everything? I know when we discussed the property, the farmer's market was on that list of potential properties. This board never made a motion or interest to sell the farmer's market. So nobody is selling the farmer's market.
Yes, the
Right.
farmer's market is not for sale.
Just wanna,
It's off the table, it's not
Yeah.
for sale.
the only other thing was May 29th, you also spoke of the Memorial Day celebration for the county. Anybody in the Burnsville community, Ansonville community, there is one also at Hopewell Methodist Church off of Hopewell Church Road, not Hopewell Baptist. I don't know if they're doing anything, but you might not find anything if you go to Hopewell Baptist, but Hopewell Methodist in Burnsville at 10 a.m. as well. They're doing the Memorial Day celebration with light refreshments afterwards at 10 a.m. at Hopewell Methodist Church.
And that's on the 26th as well?
On Monday.
On Memorial Day, yes. I
All
just
right.
want anybody in the Burnsville, Ansonville community looking for something for Memorial Day.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Any other comments, concerns from commissioners? Hearing none, I do not believe we have the need for a closed session tonight. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to recess our meeting until Thursday, May 22nd.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, Commissioner Little Reed, second by Commissioner Woodburn. All in favor, say
At 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Thursday, May 22nd at 4 p.m. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Guys, had to make up for the last one.
What? Yes, they did. They sure
How you
did.
doing?